Welcome, 80s Wrestling family. We are back. Monday night virtual, but fresh off of Virtual Mania. We are here with an extreme virtual signing. And as you can see, I am graced with the lovely presence of the franchise, Shane Douglas.
Vicky, I want you to know, and I want all the fans out there to know, I dug deep into the closet, and I brought out my best formal wear, my gold
I'm impressed.
Hoodie. So,
I'm impressed.
Yeah,
usually I dress to impress, but I think we might be in competition today, so I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
The fashion plate years are way behind. But the family's all here.
Yeah, man, it's going to be amazing, and as I always say, epic, because that's my word. We have this amazing roundtable, basically a roundtable discussion, guys. You know, when the show is live, you can ask those questions, you can relive all of those moments of their careers and have fun with it, man. We got Mikey Whipwreck, Too Cold Scorpio.
Yes.
We are here, Jerry Lynn. I mean, it's Simon Diamond. Guys, like, what do I always tell you? We are blessed with these signings because, again, Tommy Fierro works diligently behind the scenes and gives us what we want. So, man, whew,
Yeah,
I'm pumped for this one. I am pumped for this one.
The big thing for me is, you know, like I always said with ECW back then, and certainly since, is any one of us alone, you know, it's pretty cool to see or have because of so many fans that followed us.
Yep.
But when you put the family all together, it's like putting the Beatles back together. Like, just the magic comes back with it. And
Watching it behind the scenes, guys, it really is amazing. It's heartwarming, you know, just to see everybody come together. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've never seen it anywhere before. I had 11 years before ECW and a few years after ECW. Great times in all those dressing rooms. I never saw the magic I'd seen in ECW.
Yep.
It really was. I know it sounds corny, but it really was a family.
Yeah.
You know, we see each other now, and I hadn't seen Mikey in well over a year, right? And Scorp for probably about the same, and you know Jerry about 6 months. You know, as soon as Pat I hadn't seen forever, but you know we get back together, and it's right back to ECW.
That's it. You can't ask for anything else, man. You can't ask for anything else. And I am so excited to relive all these moments of your guys' careers and just, you know, dive into that and whatnot, guys. But I do have to plug some stuff real quick, and I am going to get back to you because I do have a question for you. But guys, 80swrestlingcon.com. It's not too late to get those orders in. This is a huge, huge experience. Like I said, we are fresh off Virtual Mania, and we're following up with this, guys. This is a real treat. You really want to take advantage of this. And just so you know, after the show tonight ends at 10 p.m., if you go to 80swrestlingcon.com, it will be 25% off all of the signings from now until August. So when you go to checkout, you're going to have to enter that code, signing25. I'm probably going to say it a few more times, guys, but take advantage of that deal, please, please, please. So,
very cool.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. It is a mouthful. You know, just want to ask, again, plugging away here, the 80s Wrestling, the podcast is just ranking in the ratings right now. And you were actually a guest last week on that said podcast. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, you know, for me, you know, my manager called me and said, like, 15, 20-minute segment. And we started in the questions. You know, I've done so many interviews over the years and talked about so many of these things so many times. You hate answering this. Do you really not like Ric Flair? And you know, it's like the question. Every fan has heard
of course.
that. But what was cool to me was they were asking questions from different perspectives, or asking questions I'd never been asked before. And so it made me think a little bit as we were going through it. And I don't know how long we did, but it seemed a little bit longer than 20 minutes.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great time.
No, it was really, really good. Really, really good. And it's always a privilege. So, you are fresh off of a tour in Alaska with WrestlePro. Let's talk about that. How was Alaska?
First of all, bucket list for Tommy Dreamer and I both checked off for our first trip to Alaska. I knew the state was going to be beautiful, right? But I wasn't prepared for how beautiful. You know, there's beautiful places like West Virginia, Tennessee. You know, there's certain parts of the country that are just gorgeous. And the best way I can describe it is Alaska is all those places thrown into a blender with a whole lot of growth hormone, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Mountains. We were driving to the
It is
town,
beautiful. It is
Palmer.
beautiful.
You've been there.
I went the first time with them. Yep.
Gorgeous.
It's amazing.
Well, we were driving to that town, Palmer, right? And the kid that was driving us, you know, we're driving down the highway, and there's mountains everywhere. And forests and trees. And there's a huge mountain straight ahead. And he said, "You see that? That's Mount Denali, formerly Mount McKinley."
Yeah.
And he said, "How far do you think that is?" I said, "I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, because it's like right here, right in front of us." He said, "If we drive there now, it would take us 4 hours to get there." And I was like, that mountain right there is 4 hours away. But yeah, and the people, for the people of Alaska, the franchise respects you, man. They're great people. They warm, welcoming.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it was like stepping back. I always tell the kids, my kids anyway, I'd love to take you back to the 1970s for a day because just a different world. It was like stepping back into the 1970s, going to Alaska.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful people, warm, welcoming, and then all that breathtaking nature. Great, great time.
It is amazing. It truly, truly is. And I have to say, I did watch, and
good.
it was hard hitting.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yes,
I stayed up all night to watch it. I made sure I watched it. It was absolutely amazing just to see the two of you working again. Like it was just, it was something else. It was definitely a treat.
Thank
So
you.
for sure.
I'm still. You'll see this arm is a little bit. The wing is a little bit busted up yet, but yeah, it was a great time. Yeah, like anytime Tommy and I, there's certain wrestlers you have chemistry with.
Oh
and
yeah,
some you don't.
absolutely.
Tommy Dreamer and I can step into the ring and not see each other for 10 years and that.
It's amazing.
It just falls into place.
It showed that night. It totally showed.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. So, woof. All right, guys. Again, just going to remind you, I know me and him, we're getting into some things right here. This is a treat. This is amazing. But again, all these virtual signings from now until August, 25% off, guys. 80swrestlingcon.com. Signing 25 at checkout. Please utilize that code. So, aside from seeing all your brothers and going into it and whatnot, because I'll tell you, I haven't been in the career very long, so I haven't been able to be away from these people enough to actually miss them.
Yeah.
You see the same people, and I'm like, oh, again? Come on, man.
Yeah.
But I have to see. I see it in action. I see it, and it means a lot to me. It makes the business feel more warm. It makes me feel like, if I didn't see this said person, coming back together after all those years and reliving all those memories, which again was what I said. So excited to hear what the fans have to say. You guys know, ask those questions. Be mindful of everybody's time. We got a stacked round table tonight. But definitely, guys, get those questions in when Ryan's up here because I'm sure we all want to know and relive an insane history. I have to say, you guys are all nuts. You go back in time, you watch. I'm like, you guys are nuts.
They all were. I was the wrestler in the middle of all that. They were all the crazy ones. I just got to do all the wrestling, the easy stuff.
It really, really, truly, truly is amazing. And, all these guys here, the careers are just impeccable. You can't come up with it. So to be a part of it, it's just.
What amazes all of us is that ECW has been out of business for over 20 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you'll still watch a show and hear an ECW chant break out.
Oh, all the time.
And one
all
of the
the
guys
time.
was just telling me that they were somewhere and a 10-year-old girl came up with her dad and said, "You're Jerry Lynn. You're my favorite wrestler," and started going over his matches and.
Oh my God.
Like these, and we see that all the time. And these kids weren't twinkling in their mommy and daddy's eye when we were wrestling.
Yeah.
And yet, YouTube and the network has kept us all perennially young. So it's a win-win for us, and it's great to see new fans like that coming into the business.
It's so true for myself as well. I've been a fan my entire life. I'm 27, so I'm young.
Me too.
Oh, okay. You don't look a day over 25, so I guess it works.
You want to get married? When are we getting married? That's
Size 7. I have to say, though, for me, being a fan my whole life, growing up, it's all I ever wanted to do. And to be able to relive moments that I missed.
Yeah.
80s wrestling. Clearly, I wasn't born in the 80s era. Right. There was parts of, ECW era that I wasn't, and just to actually be able to go back, relive it, rewatch it.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Every show I go to, I hear an ECW chant, and I'm like, yeah, like, it just had me not get fired up for that, It's just, it really is amazing, but it's also a revolving door. But it's like the history and the past, what you guys created. Honestly, I'm sorry, but it'll never be done again. And that's what makes the era so special.
It's lasted. And taking you back into that time frame, 93, 94, 5, when ECW was getting up off its, crawling stage.
Yeah.
The camaraderie in that dressing room. I don't mean to say that we all got along perfectly. There were always little tiffs here and there, that kind of thing. But if somebody attacked me in the ring, the dressing room was out there protecting me. Mm-hmm. Likewise, we were out there protecting other people. But it was the only place that I'd ever wrestled where you'd come back from the dressing room from the ring, and everybody sitting around the monitor would give you a standing ovation or great job, And there was always a competition in ECW. It wasn't like, to give you an example, and I'm sure you've probably heard in dressing rooms, you'll go out and bust your butt in the ring. And you'll come back and somebody, that's up on the card will say, "Hey man, now I got to work harder. Next time ease up a little bit so I don't have to work as hard." Mm-hmm. In ECW, there was always like an unspoken challenge, like, "Hey, you guys just tore the house down. I'm going to try to top it." And it was like a friendly camaraderie like that. And everybody you work with, everybody always asks, "Who's your favorite opponent?" I loved everybody I worked with in ECW because everybody you went to the ring with worked their butt off.
Yeah.
It was like nobody's going like, now, you know, you might have to do something different with this wrestler than you could that wrestler, but nobody went out there and like, okay, let's just grab a hold and take it easy, because the fans would have spit you out of that building, right?
Oh my goodness. I wish that I was around for that era and I could have been in that building and experienced that, because just watching it back, hearing it, and for me, if I watch, let's say on my phone, right, and I have my headphones in, forget it.
Right.
Goosebumps.
Yeah,
because it's just, you know, I
Well,
can't
you're a
even
performer,
imagine.
right?
Yeah.
So you
So
know, it was-
that pop and, you know, that excitement and the chaos. Like, I can't imagine just being involved in that, mixed around, and oh my goodness, the things that, please.
The day we did the Halo throwdown, right, when Gary Wolf's neck was broken, I have grown up in the business, and I'm sure you hear it now coming into the business with the term white heat. And, you know, you begin to think that's like a unicorn, right? It doesn't really exist,
I like unicorns.
And you know, when Paul had always said, now Paul Heyman was prone to telling a tale now and then, so, you know, we'd be in that building. The building wasn't much bigger than this room. It was a tiny building. We'd be there all day, and he'd say, if you see cops in riot gear, you know you're in imminent danger. Well, we were there all day. You never see cops, let alone cops in riot gear.
Yeah.
So the reason I dive out of the ring is the fans had started coming over the railing, camera left. So, and Franny was laying over on camera right, face down, and sees none of this. So my thinking is, get out of here, get her, and get to the dressing room.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So I dive out of the ring, and as I turn around, I see a cop coming around, shoulder pads, helmet, face, you know, the whole deal, and my heart sunk. Because I thought, I don't know who's behind me, but they must have a gun to my head or something.
Yeah.
And you know, another one comes around, they're pushing, pulling. I can't get Franny's feet up under her because they're dragging. I'm dragging hers. They're pushing and pulling me, and the whole way I'm like this, and I'm getting punched and kicked and kneed by fans. And we finally get out of the building. For months after that, I had to be snuck in the trunks of cars. My ex-wife was getting death threats at home.
Oh man.
So, you know, it was just a crazy, but it worked, right? I mean,
Of
thank
course.
God it worked, and nobody really got hurt over it. So.
That's the biggest thing now, you know, is that you got to do what you got to do to if you want to get that
That's
set
right.
heat, you know.
That's
And that's what I'm learning, right? You
You'll
got to
get
do
it.
what you got to do. You know, like ripping a sign,
I got a few notes for you.
Yeah. Picking his brain, guys, picking his brain.
Throw person down with broken neck.
What about ripping a sign? How's that?
Yeah, it works. It's
A little juvenile, maybe?
Yeah, step into it. Okay, love
Amateur?
juvenile. No, not even amateur. As long as it's not been done 15 times, right? It's you
Yes,
know,
maybe that.
the one thing I will tell you is pay attention to the show. We were drilled to do that, and you know, you paid attention what's ahead of you. So if you see somebody doing something before you that you're planning,
Yeah.
take it out, change it up, because the fans. You know, there's a reason there's only one car chase in the movies, right?
Yep.
Because if you do 10 car chases,
Yep.
they get boring after a while. So give the fans something different.
It makes absolutely total sense. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't watch. A lot of people don't ask, hey, you doing this? Hey, you doing that?
Right.
And everybody's doing the same thing.
That's right.
Then you get the fans up, then you get them back down. Because like, oh, we kind of just saw that, and that's very important. So I definitely take that advice to heart because it's the truth, you know. So, oof. Guys, one more time, I am totally graced with this presence right now. We're gonna have an entire roundtable discussion, and I cannot wait to eat some pizza and watch because this is going to be amazing in every single way. I have a notebook ready, and I hope you guys too. So again, one more time, guys, before we sign off here, please, 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 80swrestlingcon.com. Get your orders in tonight for this event. And from now until August, all signings will be 25% off. When you go to checkout, it'll be signing 25. Guys, 80s Wrestling family, I love you all so much. Thank you again for being here with me. It was an honor, a privilege, and I'm going to pick your brain later because I got a lot of questions for you. But guys, again, enjoy the show. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. Mwah. Vicious Vicky out.
Hey everybody, 80swrestlingcon.com. Welcome back to Monday Night Virtual, but tonight...
Good luck with this.
Tonight we're going extreme. We have the ECW Legends Roundtable. Get your orders in at 80swrestlingcon.com. Order those pictures. They're going to be delivered right here at the table, and they're going to be signed by these gentlemen. If you're a wrestling fan, you don't really need an introduction. I know. Well, it's a new time. It's 2021. They're reformed. They're gentlemen now, but they used to be extreme. And I think they still kind of are. And we're going to learn that over the next 3 hours. Over here to my left, we have New Japan Pro Wrestling star, ECW, WCW, WWE, the one and only Too Cold Scorpio. Right next to him, a man, if you were watching late wrestling in the late 90s, those matches against Rob Van Dam and ECW, always a classic, the one and only Mr. Jerry Lynn. Right here, the ultimate underdog, the Rocky Balboa of ECW.
Terry Funk.
Little Mikey Whipwreck. He's right here. And of course we have little but could still kick my ass. That's
That's two mistakes.
And then over here we have a man who really doesn't need an introduction. One of the most outspoken and most educated men in the professional wrestling business. See how outspoken and educated? There you go. WCW, ECW, WWE, the franchise, Shane Douglas. And of course, over here, another man who's got a great mind for the business, currently working for NWA as a producer. You've seen him in ECW, Simon Diamond. There he is.
Still got a problem?
So this is our first time.
Guys.
Cheers with our non-alcoholic beverages.
We
have time stage. We have time
There's the
stage.
clean water.
I told you, they're the reformed.
For the record, I only drink diet on camera.
And we're still alive, right? So,
We're going to be here for the next 3 hours. Get those orders in. If you're in the chat, if you have any questions or comments or ECW memories, if you were at any shows, because the ECW audience, I think you would all agree, we're just as big a part of the show as the talent.
incredible.
I remember going to a show. I was 14 years old, July of 1997. It was at the Wildwood Convention Center in ECW. And I think after that show, ECW was never allowed in Wildwood again, which is why Tommy Fierro from 80s Wrestling Con was able to start running shows a year later.
Again, thanks for the call. So this question was posed to me a couple weeks ago, and I want to throw it to you guys. What was the best crowd in ECW not named the Elks Lodge or the ECW Arena?
Oh,
Buffalo. Or Pittsburgh.
Chicago was pretty good.
Chicago was wild too, yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, Dayton at the Hare Arena. They were
Yeah, that was pretty tight.
a lot of them. Just about all
Fort
of them.
Lauderdale, the War Memorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The War Memorial was good.
Well,
The
didn't
Lulu
you guys?
Temple.
Didn't you guys find it? Yeah, Lulu
Yeah,
Temple.
yeah, that's right.
But don't you guys find it like it was almost like the fans were reacting to what they saw from the Elks Lodge or the
One-upmanship. Like
yeah,
you would talk
yeah.
about with the matches, it was
Yeah.
the same thing with the fans.
Yeah, those fans in New York are crazy, but we're going to top them, right? I mean, everywhere we went, it was sort of just a nuts vibe with the fans.
my experience as a fan was 1996 watching on MSG at 1 a.m. And it was unlike anything I had ever seen. They had a match between Rey Mysterio and Psychosis. And I remember, I was a little bit familiar with the Lucha Libre style, but these guys were out in the crowd.
Yeah.
And the crowd screaming into the camera. And then the commercials for those shows were basically an ECW infomercial.
Right.
It was Joey Styles and Paul Heyman talking, hey, order these tapes. Now, this is before internet, so I'm going, oh my God, the Steiner brothers are there.
Yeah.
Too Cold Scorpio's there.
Right.
Woman, Nancy Benoit, the late
Right.
Nancy Benoit, she was in WCW and ECW at the same time. So before the internet, to stumble upon this, it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before.
The thing I always said that made it, the early shows, before I got there, that made it was the music. And that Paul
helped a
would
lot.
take
Steel.
Paul would steal, yeah. Ozzy, Metallica,
Pantera.
Pantera,
White Zombie.
White Zombie, and he would do, he would highlight, he would
Yeah.
highlight you. He would highlight, he did the thing with Tina Turner,
Yeah.
with you,
Yeah.
and it was like, because music is, it's easily identifiable as far as what year you're in.
Right.
You can always, and I always say music defines the times.
Yep.
And he picked the right music that defined the time that was ECW, was grit and rough, and and the music exemplified it.
There's probably a lot of stories that you guys can't tell. See, I'm not one for the locker room gossip per se, but I like the fan interactions. And I remember going to that show in Wildwood, and I got there early because it was first come, first serve. and they had this Sandman sitting out front at a table with a case of beer. The cops are coming over and saying you can't drink on the boardwalk. He's looking directly at the cop going, I'm fucking working over here.
But he really wasn't working. He
But I just remember the fan interactions because he wasn't breaking kayfabe. He was staying in character. Someone would come up and go, what do you think about Raven in WCW? Ah, well, he effed my wife and tried to kidnap my kid. I'm glad he's gone. Then Axl Rotten, God rest his soul, comes out. And if you guys remember Wildwood, they had the tram car.
Watch the tram car, please.
New Jack comes out, jumps on top of the tram car. The lady who's driving it's freaking out. She's like, oh my God, the cops are coming. He's like, bitch, I'll stab you in the face. And there's 400 people waiting to go inside. ECW, ECW. And I'm like, oh my God, my parents, when they come here, because they were going to accompany me to the show, I'm like, I'm grounded for 3 weeks, but this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
So like he was saying earlier about the one-upmanship in the ring, there was also a one-upmanship outside of the ring, which we all have seen and partook in. And that was, there's Sandman doing his shtick. Here comes Axl, now he's going to top him.
Yeah.
And now here comes New Jack, and he's going to top them all.
The crazy thing is, a lot of it wasn't a shtick.
It
was
was
them.
them.
When you say they didn't break characters, that was
Yeah,
not
it
a
was.
character.
That was
them.
real.
But that's, I guess, a question before we get started that I have to ask to some of you guys. I mean, you came up in ECW, but a lot of you guys, you had been in Japan and WCW. I remember watching you as a kid in WCW. You had been all over the place. Was there an element as a performer where you said to yourself, I know this is cutting edge, I know this is so different, but holy shit, could I be doing something that could hurt me in the long run because of all of that was going on, all that chaos, or was that not even a thought?
That didn't enter the equation for us. Honestly, the fans, I always called them the sixth man on the bench because you could go to that building and be dragged down, tired, hungover, sick, don't want to be there. Go through that curtain like plugging into a 220 outlet. It was just boom, instantly you were back perfect and ready to go. And the fans really were amazing in that building. I've wrestled in a lot of Budokan, Madison Square Garden, Pittsburgh Civic Arena, and they were all amazing. But that little dirty bingo hall, or the Elks Lodge, and any ECW building, but the bingo hall, I love calling it that because that's what Vince always called it, right?
He meant it as an insult.
Yeah. When you're in the bingo hall company,
World famous bingo hall.
I'd take that bingo hall over any goddamn venue on the planet.
And if you could get over in the bingo hall, you could get over anywhere because they were the toughest fans in the world.
Well, while you guys were
Not
in the
even-
bingo hall or
not
at the
even
Spectrum,
close.
the ECW chants on every Monday Night Raw. And that was before even those guys got there, So that was what was amazing. I think we're going to get started with the signings. Keep the comments coming in the chat. We're going to try to get to them. If you have any questions for any of these gentlemen, any memories, shout them out. This one right off the bat, we got Adam Pop. These are all for Adam Pop. That's for Shane Douglas. As the set falls apart behind us.
ECW.
Typical ECW. Blue.
Looks like he's got something for all of you. We'll just pass these down like that. And here we go. I guess you have to follow the color coordination.
Follow directions, boys. Follow directions.
Read.
Hand me that light blue, please.
The school teacher over here is going to have to direct them, not me. So,
Thank you. That dark blue one was showing up.
80s Wrestling, this is awesome. 80swrestlingcon.com. If you want to be a part of it, get those orders in at 10 p.m. It's going to be 25% off all future signings after tonight. So get your orders in tonight for the ECW Legends. Then at 10 o'clock, check out the list of the upcoming signings and get all of those orders in. Kyle James, the franchise, is a promo god.
Thank you. Who was that?
That was Kyle James.
Thank you, Kyle.
Craig Weber with a memory that I have. My first memory of Too Cold Scorpio is teaming up with Marcus Alexander Bagwell in WCW.
Yeah, man.
And his Flash Funk in WWF.
Back when wrestling was still wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know what it is now.
See, that was the thing when I came to ECW that was surprising. Because I came in at like 20 years old. I started the ring crew in 1993. And I remember seeing Shane from behind. And I thought it was Lex Luger. But how fucking big you were. Right?
Used to be.
Well, but what I'm saying is, like, you think these guys are all like, you were a little guy
Yeah.
in WWE.
Yeah.
So I was like, to see how actually big you were, I'm never going to do anything. Same with Scorpio. Like, he was,
But you were different. You were different. That was what was special about ECW. It's all different. Like Scorpio was the first guy, American-based wrestler, to start doing this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And and Shane could talk, and Jerry's wrestling proficiency is off the charts. and then you came along as the underdog. But it was even the way you wrestled, it was different. It was different, and everybody.
I'm gonna get killed.
Up and down the no.
It was like the Rudy.
You were Rudy.
There you go,
Rudy.
You were Rudy. But it worked. That was the beauty of the card. Up and down the card, everybody was different. Everybody was different. There wasn't like today, you know, and no knock against today's wrestling. You can all sit here and talk, but it's very similar. Everyone looks very similar, wrestles very similar. I mean, it was just different up and down. You know, we had
There's
some
no difference here. Everybody wear kick pads, and half of them don't even kick, but they all want to wear kick pads. They all want to look the same.
They don't want to buy boots.
Yeah.
Boots are too expensive.
Boots are too expensive. Can't afford them.
And then the other thing was that I was found very interesting because I always tried to watch matches. When you'd go up to the curtain to watch guys, and it was sold out.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was watching everybody.
Every show.
Every
show.
Curtain show.
From the first match to the last, you know, guys watched.
I don't remember who it was, but one of the great analogies I heard to describe you during that prime of wrestling Steve Austin, Tino Cactus Jack, was somebody said it was like Little Mac from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Which, no, because that was the thing, the video game at the time. Little Mac, and he was always getting his ass kicked, but he'd come back and win. And that was a lot of what they showed with you. I mean, is that true that you were setting up the ring, doing moonsaults, and then that's what they came to you and said?
Yeah, we'd put the ring up, and after it was up, we'd test to make sure it was good because I'd always heard from anybody that a shitty ring will kill the show.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure it was upright, the ropes were tight, you know, and just too high spots, just mess around.
But I remember Paul coming and saying, watch his kids. You know, me and Taz and we all over there watching, everybody after doing their stuff. And I didn't know that's, I mean, I wasn't positive. I'd always heard that's what how you got hired.
Yeah.
I always thought Paul Parker was like backdooring it, like, you know, to us. But I remember vividly you guys setting the ring up and then getting in and working in afterwards and busting your asses and flying all over the place and doing everything. So, fast. I mean, look, you know, you hear the thing that always fascinates me are the stories of how we all got into the business, right? Because they're similar, but they're all different. There's always a little catch or a hook in how you got your toe in the door, how you got to the ECW arena, whatever. And you know, it was just really cool to watch and see, and then to see you play that character so well was so interesting to me because it was. You know, that character had been done before, right?
It was believable.
Yeah, you had Chud, right, in UWF, and the loser that always tries. But you're such a baby face then, right? You looked like you were 14, and I'm going to get killed. And I just remember the fans and then somehow pulling it out. It was just a great twist on it.
And then when they teamed you with Spike Dudley, too, there was that double element of it because he was always the runt getting beat up by the Dudleys.
It was always hard for me to do that because even though the character, I felt that way inside, to have that squeaky voice and just kind of basically Paul just feeding me stuff to say.
Yeah.
Like very intimidating because the first time I'm cutting promos, it was you, Nancy, Kevin Sullivan, and Terry Funk. We're all sitting behind there. I'm going, this is like, you know, like it was just like this is not happening. Like I was 187 pounds at the time, 20 years old.
Blew way up to 187.
Yep.
The conversation's going to continue, but up next we got Annie Spivey. She's got a bunch of pictures she wants signed. We're going to pass these down. And here we go. Here's Mikey with Cactus Jack.
Nice.
And there we go.
Cactus actually, in an indirect way, helped me get into wrestling.
Really?
Or at least not get in, but keep me there because I was a huge fan of his, and he was from Long Island, and I would just watch him just kill himself all the time, like just, you know. So when I went out there, and I was working with these guys, and supposed to make them look good and everything, I would just go ahead, just beat the shit out of me, which at the time seemed like a good idea. but I could do TV and work 4 matches, and just get constantly killed over the top to the floor, no hands, nothing, just flat, and I'd be fine.
Now, being a 20-year-old kid, though, did you, and from Long Island, too, did you have family that was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, did they watch any of what was going on with you?
My mother, to this day, has never seen one match. She's seen nothing.
Mine either.
Wow.
My mom saw my first match. That's the only time she ever saw wrestling. My very first match. That's it. The only one time.
And we're talking even on TV, like just
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
When I told my parents I was going to go to wrestling school, first thing my mom said was, "Why do you want to get hurt?" It's like, no, I don't want to get hurt.
So I quit my job with Pepsi as an account rep, and then I. I think that sometimes. No, but and I remember telling my dad, just so I could go back to school to finish my degree. I told my dad, I said, the guy who trained me thinks I can make it, so I'm going to go back to school to finish my degree, but I'm going to try this wrestling thing. And his words were, as long as you get your degree, That's fine, but God help you when you have to tell your mother. Wow. I want to see you right. I want to see you right.
Well, about 6 months ago, I'm sitting at Dominic Taducci's house. He's still out, by the way. If you're out there, Dominic, I love you, buddy. He's 89 years old now, still kicking along great. We're sitting at his house on his porch, and he said, right down there is where your mom and dad came to see me. Now, my mom and dad got along fine, but they had been divorced since before I was born. And I said, my mom and dad were here together? He said, yeah, right down there by the mailbox. And he said, I brought them to the house. And
Oh, you only just learned this a couple months ago.
Yeah, we're talking like back in like 81, 82. My mother was worried that if I got into wrestling that I wouldn't go to college. Now, he told me that they wanted him to talk me out of it. And I didn't know any of that part of the story, but I do remember Dominic coming to me and saying, I'll only train you on one condition, that you go to college. Well, I know I was going anyway, and then he told me the rest of that story. To this day, even hearing that 6 months ago, it amazes me that my mom and dad did anything together like that to come. Yeah. So they must have been pretty concerned with it. And Mom, if you guys remember the November to Remember in Pittsburgh, Mom was there for that, and she said, never watch another one after that. And that was last.
Especially with being in that crowd.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Francine, show your
That's
kids
a culture
all night.
shock.
Yeah, right. There, like,
My parents.
Oh, my mom was up there, so that's a joke.
yeah, you gotta explain.
Passing bones around.
That'll be on WrestleZone in a clip
My-
tomorrow.
Mom, you want some?
My
Mom?
parents always laughed at me. I remember they took me to the Nassau Coliseum to watch the closed circuit,
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 4. Randy Savage won. I was like over the moon. And before I went to bed that night, my dad was like, "You know this is all fake." I said, "Oh yeah, I mean, you kind of knew it was, but you're kind of like, yeah, but no, like some of the stuff, like no."
Not all of it.
Next thing you tell me Santa Claus isn't real.
These are for Josh and Alyssa. Gonna be passing them down
So
here.
kept telling me all through high school, wrestling's fake, wrestling's fake. So I went and started doing it in ECW. I started working with the Sandman, and I came home before a wedding. He'd hit me with the cane in the back of the head. It wrapped around my head, into my face, down here like this.
Did he get you in the eye?
In the eye. I was all just a complete mess. And my dad goes, "What happened to you?" I said, "I wrestled the Sandman." I go, "Dad, you said this was all fake." He looks at me and goes, "You're doing it wrong."
Well, that's even like when my father took me to one of the shows. I mean, you got the gangsters and the Dudleys in the crowd, and there's just folding chairs flying, people trying to stop their kids from getting trampled on, and he's like, I thought this shit was supposed to be fake. So if anything, ECW made a believer out of non-believers.
Oh yeah.
I just tell them when they say it's fake, I said, if it's fake, I could still be wrestling. I tell them the physicality is all too real.
Haku.
Well, remember in those early days, prior to starting to like expand out, I remember my promos distinctly. It was the marquee out front says wrestling. I check Webster's, that's a sport. We're a shoot, we're a goddamn shoot. And we had to start, Paul would come to me after a while and say, stop saying that, because at the same time UFC was having trouble getting licensed. We were going through the same thing. People were analogizing us to human cockfights. They thought we were really going out there and beating the crap out of each other. And so we'd have to show them. Paul would like take selected segments and see, okay, how pulling the punch and doing stuff like that, because we couldn't get on TVs because of that.
Wow. Yeah, when I hear about the legal wranglings of Paul Heyman, it's just, I mean, you could
It's
go on forever.
100% legit.
Ryan, where's Becky?
I love the fact that you had said that, because I remember when you would always say that.
Yeah.
Because it upsets me today when wrestlers are on television and they're calling it a business or an industry. It's a business and industry to us, but it's not a business and industry to the people outside of it. It's like Tom Brady doesn't. He won the Super Bowl and go, this is a great business to be in. He doesn't say that.
But do you think a lot of that is because kayfabe doesn't exist and all these guys wrote books? I mean, I felt like every wrestling book has that first chapter that explains the history of, okay, it came from the territories and you went to a school. And I think the fans have become so accustomed to that it just kind of rolls off the tongue of the wrestling business.
Yeah, well, I look at something like the WWE spends the entire year building towards WrestleMania, supposedly, right? And let's say it's Simon Diamond and I, he's been doing stuff to me and I've been doing stuff to him and all this other kind of stuff. Then you see the WrestleMania experience, and there's a picture of me and Pat together, drinking a beer together, having a glass of Perrier water or something, right? And they're dressed nice and everything. So we spend all year to build all that.
Yep.
And then we flush it down the drain doing this.
Well, it's like Bray Wyatt as the Fiend on Instagram holding his newborn baby. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought this was the monster. He spits, shitting people.
I'm going to tell you one of the
Marshall Hodge up next.
You'll. So remember in TNA the Ale House?
Yes.
Well, one night, Al Snow and I are in there after the show, and here come the boys, and we did a big angle. Someone broke somebody's arm. Now the person whose arm was broke walks into the Ale House with the sling on, and Al and I look at each other like, all right, okay, they're starting to get it. And then the guy who broke his arm walks up to him with a beer and hands him a beer and throws it.
Flush.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I still feel like in ECW, that was kind of the last of the companies that would not tolerate that, like where people would get
The locker room wouldn't
Oh.
tolerate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not acceptable.
You get beat up in the
ECW.
ring if you did shit like that. If you didn't wear, seriously, they did something, you were in an angle and like you had a broken neck and you didn't bring your neck brace. Well, you would bring your neck brace.
Guess you didn't want to work tonight.
Yeah,
Right. Next up, we got Adam Lux. Adam, here's a picture of Shane before Triple H stole that look.
No royalties either.
Yeah, well, we're not going to be on Peacock. All right, here we go. Mr. Simon Diamond, Mikey Whipwreck, Jerry Lynn, and Too Cold. Get those orders in at 80swrestlingcon.com. Keep those comments coming in the chat. As you can tell, a lot of people here, so we're going to not be able to probably get to as many as we'd like to, but we are acknowledging the chat, so keep the comments coming, but go to the website, get those orders in. Kyle James, Scorpio with Sandman and Woman was awesome. And yeah, for me watching that as a fan, that blew my mind. Because I remember, you know, Babyface Scorpio, we had the music video of him dancing in WCW. And then on ECW TV, taking Woman, throwing her in the back of a limo, slamming the door and saying, "Take that bitch back to Atlanta." It's like, wow. That's funny.
Which turned out to be a shoot.
William D. Michelle in Easton, Pennsylvania.
I like you had both belts and you're going to 2 gold Scorpio.
2 gold Scorpio.
I like it.
Todd was the one who gave me that.
Nice. I got a question for Scorpio. It's like ribbon on a square, but I'm seriously dying to know. My fat ass, even back then, I'd jump off a rope and gravity grabbed my ass quick.
You don't look
Like, I was
fat
up and down real quick. This guy, he would jump. How do you float like that? Like, he'll jump on that rope and.
Hey, bro, he wasn't 250. He
Oh,
was 240.
Right.
He was 235, 240.
A little heavy there.
No, I'm saying you were muscular. You were in shape. You weren't like you. I always said you and Rob Van Dam are the 2 high flyers that it was like, you guys were big guys.
Yeah.
3 high flyers, at that time.
Yeah.
You compare with the high flyers nowadays, look like, most of them not even 200 pounds.
No, they're 175.
And there's so many of them now that they don't stand out. Whereas when you watched you or Rob Van Dam, you were like, wow, this is different.
Right.
Now everyone's doing it, It's like if a corkscrew plancha is in every match or a 450 splash, it just takes away from it.
Seriously, honestly, how do you do that? Like, do you think about it? Like, is there something you're doing when you?
I just happen to have the
you
time
float,
and the grace of God to be able to float like that,
That's
but
crazy.
no.
I was telling him before, he laid me down, he was going to do one of those reverse.
The tumbleweed.
Yeah.
No, this was just a moonsault leg drop.
Yeah.
And he puts me
Just a
down.
moonsault drop.
He puts me down, stands on the top rope, looks down and goes, uh-oh.
Oh, what?
And perfect. Yeah.
Sabu would say, sorry.
Next up, we got
Third punch.
You just talked
Third
about
punch.
Yeah,
you just
third
talked
one.
about the moves,
He'd
and that
say
was
it
the
before
thing.
he hit you.
Like I remember when I started in ECW, and I'd watch the matches, and so I had my moveset I was bringing from the Indies, and I mean I'm watching the match, I'm going, oh, can't do that, because I'm watching everything, and they do it 50 times better than I did. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? What do I have left? A kick and a punch. Okay, okay, that's it. But you watch these guys, and you were just like amazed at the athleticism, but not the overusage of the athleticism.
Right.
Like, to today's point.
Well, I also noticed too, because back around that time was when the shoot interviews started to get popular, right? So they would have guys that just came off WWE TV, and they would ask them. It was Rob Feinstein always did the shoot interviews back then, and he would say, "Well, what do you think about this guy? You know, Rob Van Dam or Scorpio?" And they'd have somebody like Shawn Michaels or whatever say, "Oh, well, I think they do a little too much." And it's like, well, no, WWE just started taking all of that and applying it and called it the Attitude Era. And I don't think that's something that fans under the age of 30 realize now. You know, WWE has tried to do their, whitewashed documentaries of ECW and stuff, but unless you actually went to any of the shows or watched those low-budget TV shows, you had no idea how much of it was taken.
Oh, yeah.
I still think that's why they put us on their TV in '97.
Oh, without a doubt.
To get our fans to watch. And cause that's when they started doing all the hardcore stuff and things like that. I mean, Brett worked Davey Boy in Pittsburgh, and I don't know what they had, but Brett got huge color.
Really?
Yeah,
but,
I'm going.
but right after we did the Bam Bam and Taz through the
ring,
ring, WWF did
That's
it
right.
the following week later on. They did it in their matches.
Well, look at one of the best angles in the past 30 years in WWE was Bret and Stone Cold with the basically double turn.
Yeah.
You know, and it was all about the blood. You know, that shot of when Bret had him in the sharpshooter and the blood's just pouring out of Stone Cold. I mean, that was phenomenal.
Yeah,
Absolutely
$1 million
phenomenal.
shot.
All right, next up we have Lucas Glover. Lucas Glover.
What's up, Lucas?
Lucas!
In the house.
Just the signature.
That's how you do a shout out.
Yeah, maybe we could do that. That'll eat up a lot of time, or save a lot of time, I should say, if we just stick with that. This way everybody gets their shout out all at once. And then you can go to 80swrestlingcon.com in the next couple days just to clarify that it was your signature that you got.
80wrestling.com. Let's get it right on.
Nice out.
All right. Next up we got Jeremy Gibson. Jeremy Gibson. There we go.
Red.
Oh, there's two for Mr. Gibson for Too Cold.
Okay.
There you go. 80swrestlingcon.com. Don't forget at 10 p.m., 25% off all the upcoming signings we have. We're back next Monday with Cowboy Stan Hansen.
Nice.
Wow.
Talk about somebody ripped the head off with a lariat. I'm aiming for the guy in the middle. I see three. I'm aiming for the one in the middle.
Don't you love this one? He'd cheat you up and he'd go.
Right? Oh, shit! Ah, no. And the bad thing about it is, you know it's coming.
Yeah.
You know it's coming. Just be prepared.
Thorsten Fritz wants to know, to Mikey, was it Paul Heyman's idea to call you Whipwreck?
Yes. That was from a promoter.
In Maryland, right? Dennis, what's it?
Tom Kraus in Palmyra, Pennsylvania. Tom Kraus.
Yeah, the loser. He had me come out. I'm from Buffalo because the Bills couldn't win the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart. 80swrestlingcon.com. All orders coming in. We are here till 10 o'clock. Then after 10 o'clock, 25% off all future signings. Get those orders in within the next 24 hours for 25% off. 80swrestlingcon.com. Don't forget about 80s Wrestling, the podcast. I believe Shane Douglas was a guest on that last week with Tommy and Jumpin' Jay.
Tommy, thanks for the call.
All right. And now we have coming up. Wait, where are the names on this one? They're on one of them. This is for Sean Tello in nearby Fairlawn, New Jersey. And there we go.
Fairlawn. That's right around the corner.
There we go, Mr. Scorpio. Keeping those orders coming. Bubba Call. I hope Tommy Fierro's stocked up on envelopes. Yeah, he was at Kinko's earlier. He's ready to go. Kyle James. Shane Douglas versus Scorpio for the TV title was awesome.
Thank you. I was telling the guys earlier, Scorp gets all the credit for that. I was winded to the gills after wrestling the two earlier matches, Dane Malenko and Taz. The building was 114 degrees, and he carried it.
He never got winded.
No.
Hey, it takes two when you're out there working. I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah, but it takes two, but one guy was going, Come on, get up, feed.
That's what you gotta learn. Grab a hold on, kid. Work the crowd, work the crowd.
I think the hottest building I ever worked in was it Lafayette, Louisiana, in that armory. They wouldn't put the air on for
Well,
us.
Louisiana, I mean, brutal.
We were all in our cars changing with the air on because they wouldn't turn the air on in the building.
Now, are
for
fans
us.
walking by and seeing this going on?
No, they were already inside. It was
Oh, okay.
packed with even the balcony around the top was packed. I thought someone was going to die in the ring. It was
Didn't
so
Chris
hot.
hurt his neck that night, Candido?
I'm not sure.
Hurt his neck that night or something, I remember.
God, how good was he, man? How good was
Incredible.
Chris?
I don't think the casual wrestling fan can
Multi-talented.
appreciate what that must have been
Could
like
work
too,
anybody
because
on the card.
I think they think
another
at Madison
chameleon,
Square Garden that
right?
every guy has a locker room. No, they're all together. Especially when you guys are in the bingo hall, you're all on top of each other. I mean, that had to be sweaty and smelly and
We all heard that little segregated
I mean,
area.
and some guys were out in the parking lot. I mean,
Right.
that's not like.
But they was the ones who was trying to get on the cards, like that. But yeah, but most of your regulars, we all had our own little spots, to hang out. Like me and Shane pretty much had our own little spot in the back where we always like to change everybody else, So yeah, we wasn't really all on top of each other until TV actually started, and Paulie gave his pump up speech, to get you fired up, make you feel good about going out there and killing yourself.
For free.
For free. Checks in the mail.
you guys had mentioned the late great Chris Candido. Shout out to Johnny Candido. I know he's watching.
Johnny.
What's up, Johnny?
All right, here we have very often spoke about night Dean Douglas as Intercontinental Champion. This is for Jeremy Zalowski in
Not night,
Paynesville.
30 seconds.
30. Well, I figured I'd dress it up a little bit.
Thankfully, right?
Get those orders in, 80swrestlingcon.com. Too Cold Scorpio, Jerry Lynn, Mikey, Whipwreck, Simon Diamond, and Shane Douglas. We're going to be here till 10 p.m. Then 25% off all future orders from 10 p.m. on for all the upcoming signings. Next week we got Stan Hansen, 80swrestlingcon.com for the full list of everybody we're going to have coming up. Tony Gianpetro, Scorpio, did you want to strangle Vince when he came up with the name Flash Funk?
No, actually, I was willing to take that challenge because me and Vince was talking, and he says, nobody can get a gimmick over without me pushing you. I said, I don't care what gimmick you give me, I can get over in 4 months. He goes, never. I said, bet. He said, okay. So it was a challenge, yeah.
Nice.
A lot of Flash Funk, because I was at the Survivor Series in '96 when you came out. There was a lot of I feel like The Godfather might have taken a little bit from Flash Funk, right? You had the Funkettes, you had the big hat, right? I feel like it was a little bit of a precursor to The Godfather.
I think it was a lot, but then again, you talking about
I'm trying to be nice because he's coming up.
they turned around and made the Godfather a pimp who swears up and down he cannot stand a pimp. He would slap the taste out of a pimp's mouth in a heartbeat, but that's what Vince made him. Pimps up and hoes down. Ain't nothing but another pimp. Where my money at?
Jim Newbert in Sea Isle City, New Jersey. And there we go. And speaking of, here we
Sea Isle
have
City,
Flash
big
Funk
beach
right
town.
here.
But that was the business. Everyone stole from
Yeah.
everybody. Remember going to indie? When you were in ECW and you went to an indie show and you saw something cool and you went, no, I'm taking it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, he won't see it for a while.
Well, I was a diehard, and I still am a diehard Steve Austin fan. But as I've gotten older and watched old tapes of Dr. D, and seen how he carried himself, and see how he's living now as a bounty hunter, I'm like, that's the real life Stone
Oh, yeah.
Cold right there.
Yeah.
It's all, and I think that's in every industry. I mean, I always read the stories of how David Long stole his act from Jim Dandy from Black Oak, Arkansas. And
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was young, I'd watch you, Tully, Flair, all the guys that I wanted to emulate. And I said, oh, I'll take a little of that, I'll take a little of that, I'll take a little of that. And then you just kind of try to make it your own. And hope that you disguise it enough and people go, oh, it's pretty good.
Tim Myers, Jacksonville, Florida. Tim Myers. You guys can keep talking. I'll
It's funny you
just
say
jump
that
in with
because
these.
early, months in the business, Dominic Felice took us up to Montreal. Dino Bravo and Rick Martel had a promotion up there to get TV experience. And Scott Irwin and Bill Irwin were dressing, and Bill had already gotten dressed and left him. And Scott wrestled died of brain cancer. They had the big lace-up boots, and he's lacing his boots up. And I said, you mind if I ask where you guys came up with the gimmick? And he said, gimmick? He said, if we were in the business, son, we'd be out in the bar stomping somebody's ass. This is us. And then he told me, he said, don't ever try to do anything original. It's all been done. We've had cowboys and Indians, Frankenstein's monsters, and mummies walking all day. He said, we've had everything. He said, take a snippet of 4 or 5 wrestlers that you admire, put them in the blender, and then top it off with a whole heaping dose of yourself. And, you know,
advice.
Yeah, it was amazing advice.
Right on the money.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that can go for all live entertainment, right?
Absolutely.
Stand-up comics, bands, that does exist, definitely. But nowadays, when you have access to everything, it's fun to go back and trace and see, I noticed a little bit of that, a little bit of that.
I took, when I went to the Devil and had the red hair thing, I was Ozzy Osbourne, Chris Farley, Randy Savage, and Marty Jannetty.
I love that you mentioned Chris Farley, because now looking back, I remember that with James Vandenberg. I can see how some of that was in there. That's very, very impressive.
And it's interesting that you said Chris Farley, because we've all seen you do a Chris Farley shtick. But
now I look the part, too.
That's now, but back then,
It was a struggle back then.
But it's like I tell guys all the time, I said, don't just watch wrestling to find your character. Watch the movies. Watch, television. Watch musical acts.
Yep.
And like I remember one time Michael PSAs was quoting David, he's quoting David Lee Roth on Georgia Championship Wrestling. I'm sitting there going, David Lee Roth said that. Why is he saying that? I'm standing up for David Lee Roth.
Anthony Crowley.
Of course, the critics prefer Elvis Costello to Van Halen. The critics look like Elvis Costello, not Van Halen.
That's a great line, actually.
That's my favorite line of all time.
I hit up Chris Jericho with that. When he's on commentary, I'll catch little things. And I told him, I said, nice little shout out to Scorpions, Black Ops one time.
Yeah.
Well, I even remember when he was in WCW, he was doing the Spinal Tap going backstage, not being able to find the stage. And the first time I ever watched Chris Jericho wrestle was on ECW TV on MSG, Pitbull #2 for the TV title.
Chris, I used to be so jealous of Chris. Loved him to death, like my little brother. But he always had the snack of taking a nap before a match. And his music would be playing. You'd wake him up, he'd wake up and pull his tights up and go to the ring and have a 5-star match.
Wow.
And it was amazing. I said, how do you do that? Like, I had to work and think at it and really, dig my brain into stuff. He'd come out of a coma and go out there and tear the house down. I'm like, how the hell can somebody do that? He was amazing.
Well, look now.
Well, I always wondered how Balls could eat a hot dog right behind the curtain when his music's playing and then go out and...
Remember the crawfish in Louisiana?
Oh, yes.
The big buck on the table like this.
Yes, the whole table.
All covered with crawfish, and he's just eating them. I'm going, he's going to throw up in the bowl. But he didn't. No. And he could, go.
Oh, yeah.
He could go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
When he was at the height of ECW, when he was teaming with Axel, he did a bunch of Jersey independent shows. And what I always was impressed with him by was, because again, you didn't really get to see too much of it on ECW TV. We did a show at Brick Memorial High School, and before we could get in there to set up the ring, the kids for the wrestling team were working on the mats, and he went out on the mats and was working out with these guys. And I'm like, holy shit, I never knew Balls Mahoney was an amateur wrestler.
Do you know why you never knew he was an amateur wrestler? Because when you look at him, and Balls Mahoney, if Balls Mahoney is sitting there exchanging holds with Shane Douglas, the character's doing this.
Exactly.
Yep.
And he didn't need to tell everyone I'm a great amateur wrestler. He didn't need to tell anyone that. He just Balls Mahoney.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I think a lot of these younger guys today, they need to tell everyone, look, I really am athletic. Look, I really watch me. Go watch me. Like guys back then, like Balls, was a great amateur wrestler, but he didn't need to prove it to anyone.
Right.
But I blame the internet for that, because a lot of the guys that are the top stars now were the same guys that when they were teenagers on the internet message boards were hearing, Hulk Hogan doesn't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch. So that got ingrained in them at a young age. And I love the Hardy Boys, but I always say that I kind of blame that too, because that's when you started seeing, oh wait, the Hardy Boys are stars. I'm going to go to Hot Topic and buy fishnet shit, and like you said, the kick pads. It just changed the whole dynamic of everything.
Pat, you told me a story. You went
Sean
out
McBride
with the
up next.
honky tonk man. Oh! and you were talking about it, and he was asking the kids, what do you want? He goes, I want to be Jeff Hardy. I want to be this. And he looks and goes, are you fucking stupid? he goes, I want to be this guy. I want to be this guy.
And then he did I want to be this guy. Because you know what? They don't have to go out there and do that. And,
Luke Gallows told a great story that what the year Honky was in the Hall of Fame, or one of the years they had the WrestleMania after party, and nobody knew what to say to Honky. They went up to him, and Luke Gallows goes up and goes, oh man, look at this, isn't this great, the sushi? And Honky looks at him and goes, you're paying for it, you fucking mark.
I rode with him for 4 days in Canada.
You and I had to pick him up from the
We had
airport.
to and it was the greatest learning, one of the greatest learning experiences of my career. Because I drove,
Anthony
it was
Roll.
me, him, and Swinger, and I drove, and slow down, I'm going to spill my Gatorade, and he's pouring vodka in the Gatorade, you know. But just listening to him, and everyone thinks he's a gimmick, and he is,
Yeah.
but his knowledge is off the charts.
There's two for you.
You know, I learned when you and I had to pick him up from the airport. Everyone owes him money.
Yeah. Well, let's drive over the bridge. That guy owes me money. We'll go get it now.
I remember I managed a guy against him on an indie show once, and he's going over the match, and he says, "All right, and then for the finish, we're gonna do, the neck breaker." And so the guy that I'm managing goes, "Oh, the shake, rattle, and roll." He goes, "Nah, not the shake and rattle, because someone's gonna break their fucking neck. Just the roll."
He was one of a kind.
Yes, he is.
And I love how he gets criticized. Like people are like, "Oh, he wasn't a great worker." What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? Wait, define worker. Define work. I want to know the guy who's saying he's not a great worker. So, well, what's your definition of a worker? Someone who can memorize a bunch of spots.
Jumpin' Jay
You
up
know,
next.
the guy in the corner by himself going over his shit. Is that a great worker?
Jumpin' Jay, the 80s wrestling co-host. That's you and you. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. We're here with the ECW Legends till 10 p.m. Then after 10 p.m., 25% off all the upcoming signings for the next 24 hours. Also, check out all the great past signings that we've had over the last few months. They're all available at 80swrestlingcon.com. In the next couple days, this full 3-hour signing will be available as well. All right, 80s Wrestling Con MVP, the auction champion, Emil Menard. He's up next. He's got a big stack of photos.
Oh, I thought actually
MVP.
MVP. Yeah. I thought
Looking up
MVP.
for the
I was like,
80s. I know you was a fan,
wait,
but
is he
damn.
working tonight?
Yeah, probably.
Right?
He's on his phone in the corner.
Oh, wait, that's a separate one. That's
Wait, what? Is that a C or an, is it a meal?
Emil,
Emil,
E-M-I-L-A.
got it. I don't wanna mess
And
it up.
Lynn, another one for you, to Jay. Travis Babcock, Jerry always had great matches, especially his matches with Rob Van Dam and X-Pac. They were fantastic.
Well, thank you.
I'm going to ask you a question, Jerry. And you,
Oh, boy.
You don't have
Here
to
we
answer
go.
it if you don't want
Here we
to.
go.
Did it piss you off a little bit that he got more credit than you did for those, that people outside of the, I think people in the ECW locker room realized who the cohesive unit was, who the cohesive piece of the chain was in those matches.
Well, I couldn't do without him either. You know, it takes two. But
Brian Pettis in Florida.
how do I put this?
Because I can reference a story where you and I were drinking one night and you kind of got into it a little bit.
Oh, do tell.
No, not if I was drinking. No, don't do
I
that.
love angry Jerry Lynn.
Yeah, it was the I was like you turned heel and like I was like this. Who is this guy?
Hold on.
Only time every time.
Perfect music, right?
Oh, Heyman.
Tell him it's in the mail. I flashed it to you over there.
I love the story yesterday in that texting thread when somebody asked about Paul, and they talked about Ron Simmons getting to the airport. What did he?
Oh my
What did he
God.
got him ticket?
Rosenthal.
Rosenthal, yeah. He said, "Do I look like a Rosenthal?"
I remember
Bam.
he came in with his wife. I think it was Orlando the second night, and he gets out of the car all pissed off. Comes in the locker room, puts his bag down. I'm like, Ron, what happened last night?
Shit, look, he showed up.
He goes, damn, Paulie. I got to the gate and they wouldn't let me board the plane. I said, why? He goes, why? Do I look like a Rosenthal to you?
Dan Aaron told me that story.
Oh, my
That's
God.
Great. Aaron Karpinka.
I just saw Ron a couple nights ago in Tennessee Looks phenomenal.
Oh, he's always looked good. He's never looked bad.
No.
Oh yeah, he was here for one of the signings, and I had said to him, I said, "Is it true you used to bench press 600 pounds?" He goes, "Yeah, but I don't work out anymore." And I'm like, "You're still
Who put up 400,
Yeah.
I know.
But I don't go over 580 anymore.
He walks past the weights and gets bigger.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to touch them.
Love Ron.
About that question though that he had asked you about, being at the bar. Was that something that you? Well, I know you had to deal with it. I guess.
Well, the business, it's a tough grind.
Well, no, I'm talking not about the. I'm not talking about
I'm
that.
just saying
Yeah.
it gets very frustrating at times.
But does it get more frustrating when you have fans coming up to you, especially when they're smart fans going, I feel you were really underutilized here. Like,
No,
were you?
that don't bother me.
Yeah, I
You know,
want to know that feeling.
it
Bill
doesn't.
Dismaris.
As long as, I always said just go out there and give them something to remember.
Yeah.
But, so I appreciate their kind words and stuff, and I
Anthony
appreciate the
Militic.
fact that they like my work. But it's a different kind of meaning when your coworkers compliment you on your work,
Yeah.
and
Well, everyone
Jimmy
wanted
Rose. Waverly, Ohio.
everyone wanted to work with you, with Mikey, with Scorpio. Everyone in all the card wanted to work with you guys.
Michael Anderson.
I hope so, because
Like, oh, so
I hoped I never was that guy who's, you'd see your name next to on the board and you're going, oh, God.
Line up oh, God. No.
shit, I got Stiffy again.
Yeah, right?
Scorpio, fuck. Spinning black eye heel kick. I know it's coming.
You know a guy who always had, who at least to me, always had like a perception of, oh man, I gotta work him, was Sabu. And then I started working Sabu regularly on the indies. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Just every third punch. That was the
Yeah.
thing.
That's actually probably a huge compliment, though.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm
to
only
him
gonna-
to
I'm
hear
only
that
gonna
because
use
that's
the
how
chair and
believable he
the
was.
ropes 3 times
That even
tonight
you guys
instead
were
of 10
like,
times.
until you got in there.
The first time he hit the triple jump moonsault, we were at that monitor we were talking about earlier, sitting there watching, and I see him setting the chair up, and I'm looking, what the hell's he doing in the chair? And then the guy's laying here, the chair's here, and he starts running this way. What the hell's he doing? Runs, jumps, chair, rope, moonsault. I'm like, oh, I jumped out of the seat like, holy shit, that's
was
amazing.
Did you see that? Right?
Chris
That was
Carey,
crazy.
San Diego, California. That's Mr.
He should have made so much money in this business. He should have been, oh my goodness. Because he was so, when he first came in the ECW, he was so unique.
Different.
And he looked, with the story, he looked unique, so unique.
Yeah, I remember when he had gone to WCW for a little bit there, and it was just like, you could tell it was a completely, they had no idea what they had.
On
No
the
idea.
sheet.
Yeah.
Colt Campbell, not to be confused with Cabana.
Very
Colt
believable.
Campbell,
Right,
Uniontown, New York.
But wasn't that like across the board with most of the
Oh,
guys that left ECW
that's
to go
huge.
somewhere else? Is they take the franchise character to WWF and make him the Dean, speak in a monotone voice, put this stupid baby blue outfit on him, instead of letting that franchise character come like they did with Rob Later. Yeah. Well, I always say like in football, right? If I was telling Darren on the way up here today, if I'm a coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers and I need a scrambling quarterback, I got Mahomes and I got Tom Brady. Let's go with Brady because he's a pocket quarterback and we can make him into a scrambling quarterback. No, go with the guy that scrambles, right? Why, if that's what you need, go for that.
Yep.
It never made sense to me, and like you see across the board with Sandman, take Sandman out, right? Something complete Public Enemy. You go down this list, Sabu, another one. These guys that come in and they go into some place, and now it's suddenly like, let's put them all the way back down to the bottom of the rung, which those guys didn't care about. They were willing to work their way up. But now we're going to make you something completely different than what you've been, and the fans are dying to see on a national level.
You know
I can
where else
almost
you see that
understand-
a lot? The music industry. They'll
true.
take a band that is so hot, sign them to a deal, and go, oh, by the
Emile
way,
Menard up next.
we have writers for you now.
Yeah.
You're not playing that same music anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that?
Then why sign them?
Yeah.
Yeah, then why do it?
Yeah, crazy.
And to your point, Shane, look, we can all sit here for hours and talk about Paul and the good and the bad. One of his best attributes was he gave us the freedom to create.
Yes. That's the key. No micromanagement, right?
Taught you how to do a promo. A shoot promo is your best promo.
Talk from here.
That the first night in ECW that I did a promo, I had a 5-minute segment. We all know 5 minutes, that's a hefty promo, right? And I'm at the curtain. I said, Paul, what do you want me to say? And he went, whatever you want. So I looked at the curtain. I said, well, I got 5 minutes to fill up. Okay, I can have fun with this, right? And you start to get to the point. And then, like, for me, it became a game of I want to take the angle a little bit this way. So plant a seed today in tonight's match and then buzz Joey. And we'll start to pull, rather than go and negotiate it out with Paul and explain it and everything else, just sort of steer it that way, right? It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Tony Aragon. He's got some instructions here, what he wants right there. And that's followed by Anthony Giampetto in Henderson, Nevada. This is Ryan Evans.
And I think when you hear, whenever you hear like
Got you.
them giving the speech in companies where they say, you got to grab, to all you young talent, you got to grab the brass ring. And I think that's what they mean.
Right.
You have to take it, own it, and steer it in the direction you want it to go. But because wrestling has become so produced and scripted and whatever, it becomes hard. It becomes hard to do that.
You told me a story years ago. I'm sorry.
No,
You
go
told me
right
a
ahead.
story years ago, and I forget who it was, but I remember it was at an indie show. You said that there was somebody that met with Vince and the creative team to pitch an idea, and it was something about a Boy Scout. He wanted to be a Boy Scout leader, and he was like purposely trying to be as ridiculous as possible. And they were sitting there going, "Yeah, I think I like that." And I say to myself, I remember when you told me that story. I'm like, they don't look at a talent and say, I have this idea in mind. Like they just, back then I never understood that concept of them signing somebody, like you said, you take the franchise, Shane Douglas, okay, yeah, he's got the school teacher background, but he's known for ECW at that point. Like,
Right.
what do you think that is, that they just want to, is it really they just want to brand somebody completely themselves, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Because they want to control it, and then they can own it, and then they can sell it, then they can market it, and then they can sell it, and that's.
I would think
you
it would
know.
be like, I like what this guy is doing. He's got a following because of that. Let's bring him onto our team. But apparently,
That's what it would seem to me.
Anthony
the day,
Giampetto.
if you guys remember, I was doing the promos for a couple months leading into vignettes.
Just into
And I would go up there on Sundays and record 5, 6, 7, 8 of these things. And, costume changes and glass changes, hair, makeup, all the thing. Well, I was so bored after a day long of doing these things, speaking in a monotone voice and giving these stupid grades. So I finished the last one. I said, Vince, can I do that last one again? A little different, same verbiage, same grade. I just want to give it a little different delivery. I said, sure, give it a try. Now the room is, before I go any further, Michael Hayes was there, Stan Lane was there, Jim Ross was there, hair and makeup girls, sound and lighting techs, cameramen. There's 15 people at least in the room. So I do the last one as the franchise. Same verbiage, same grade, pounding my fist, laughing before I scratch the board. And I get done, he gets called out of the room on a phone call. While he was gone, first person I went to was Michael Hayes, right? I knew, and Michael Hayes' exact words, Mike, if you remember this, was, I don't know about anybody else, kid, but that last one was fucking hot. And I knew which one was better. Went around the room, every other person, Jim Ross, Stan Lane included, everybody else, yeah, that was great, that one was compelling, I couldn't take my eyes off it. Here comes Vince 15 minutes later, glasses, cup of coffee. So, well, Vince, what'd you think? He said, well, I appreciate what you were trying to do, but, and he looked around the room, made eye contact with everybody, and he said, but I think I like my way better. What's everybody else think? And every person that had just 5 minutes before said, yeah, that's what we told him, Vince. We liked your way better too. And it was that moment I knew it's time to get the hell out of here.
Yep.
This is the bizarro world.
Nick Pomeroy in Mesa, Arizona.
It's. I remember in TNA
Anthony DeSimone in New York.
the stack of the production run sheet. Remember, like this, these promos were pages long.
Yeah.
And I'm going like how can you talk with any emotion if you're sitting there going, if I have the microphone, I'm sitting there in my mind going, okay, what do I have to say now? Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay. So tomorrow, okay, was it tomorrow night or tonight? Which one was it? And like you just got to remember so much, you can't.
And it's something that you would not say your entire life.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
Kyle James, 80s wrestling right now is
Never.
better than WWE Raw, so people are enjoying this
Right.
so far.
Is that a compliment?
Well, take it for what it's worth. I think he means it with love.
Didn't they release? They just released a bunch of guys.
They do it every year.
Joe.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they released Joe, and then Bo Dallas, right?
Shit, guess where they're going?
Don't lie.
They I ain't got shit to do with that shit. Hey, don't ask me.
I fly under the radar.
Hey,
All right, next up we got
Old
Michael
school.
Anderson,
Fly under the
Cranford, New
radar.
Jersey. Michael Anderson.
Young kids don't
you
know
guys
nothing about
got any
that.
more for me?
they don't know nothing about that. Grab a hold, don't know nothing about that.
No. That's that rest hold. That's a rest hold.
Well, in the
But
promo,
I hate
But
that
in- but
term,
in
because it really
wrestling,
isn't.
There never is a rest hold in wrestling.
Because if you're applying it right,
It
you're not
shouldn't
resting.
be.
You're
Yeah, but you're struggling to get out.
You're
There
getting
is
blown up.
no rest hold.
Like we were
Justin
talking
Gibbons,
with the
Justin
Cobra
Gibbons.
Clutch Challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as it got on,
yeah.
Yep.
you know?
Well, to me, the promos that are all scripted now, I think it
Jimmy
kills,
Rose.
You know, we talk, all
Jimmy.
these things lead back to certain starting points. So the franchise character is a fictional person, right? Doesn't exist. But I've
Sean
voiced him
Pesora.
out for so many years. I can tell you how this guy thinks, what kind of women he would go after, which is pretty obvious. You know, what kind of beer he would drink or alcohol. I can tell you how the guy would vote because I voiced him out. But if I was reading a script, everything, and you said, well, how would the franchise vote? My question would be, what would the writer say? Right, hey, writer, what would the franchise, how would he vote this election? Because you can't think in that person's head if it's just reading somebody else's words. And like for me, that's where I found the franchise character. And now everything's just scripted. And the other part of that is you know, you're pretty good promo guy. We're all good on the stick.
Michael
If we write a
Federico.
promo for somebody that's following our careers, we're very was saying,
got you,
well, they sound about like
puppy.
Simon Domino of the franchise, right? Because we speak in our vernacular. And, you know, my take on this is take 10 wrestlers, force them all to look into that camera lens and do a promo. 2 or 3 or 4 of them will be really bad at it and suck. A couple of them will be okay in the middle, and you might end up with 1 or 2 or 3 that are pretty darn good at it. And so the ones that can't speak, hey, here's my manager referee Simon Domino or Shane Douglas, 2 old over the hill guys. Instead of just go out there and just read a script or whatever.
Kerry Felstead, Canada.
The same formula that we'd always followed in our careers, as the industry followed. We followed, not our careers followed the industry standard.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Pedro Morales used to live 5 minutes from where I live. And
Is that a W? I'm sorry, is that
Yeah.
a W or an A?
S-H-A-U-A.
A-U-N, okay.
So he and I used to go, I took you there. Remember the place I took you to and the owner and he paid, we didn't pay a dime.
Yep.
So Pedro and I used to go there on Saturday. Well, Pedro went there.
Todd Schwartz.
And I ran into him one time, and then he'd be like, every Saturday you come here and we drink and we talk, you know, like the boys. And I loved it because I just listened to his stories. And I remember talking to him one time, and I was like, when you used to do those, remember they would promo the towns 20 after and 20 of. And I said, when you promoted the town, what was your direction you were giving me? He's like, direction? I'm like, well, go over there. That's where you do the promo. I was like, no, what did they tell you to say? Well, no one told me to say nothing. I knew what to say. And I thought to myself, that's why it was so good.
Yeah.
Because back then, you didn't have to sit there. They probably didn't have to say, okay, say this and then say that. It was probably just
It
go.
wasn't a script like in WWF, you know, it's
Right.
like, here's your script, go study it for an hour, so this is your promo, you know, but it's like half the shit that's on the script, like Shane was saying, you know, when they give you a promo, it's somebody who's writing shit they think that sounds good, but it's not shit that you would actually say
Right.
in your character. You
Let's
know,
face
I mean,
it,
so why
and
would I
1
actually
hour
say
of
that,
TV
you
back
know?
then.
You and
Sold
I
out
would
the
speak
garden
very
constantly.
differently in promos, right? You'd have your way of saying it, I have my way of saying it.
The same thing, but totally different.
Ron
Absolutely.
Carley in Pennsylvania. Ron Carley.
What up, Ron?
I wonder if we all sound like salty vets. Remember we all make fun of.
You know what?
They used to talk crap about those guys.
Giannis.
They got he's so sour now.
You know, like
Sour
when they
puss.
come to the show, we'd all kind of make fun of them. You know, not real bad. We just kind of make fun of them. Like, oh, we'll never be like. And now listen to us. This kid,
Right, though, we all start at the same spot.
Fernando.
And I heard
Fernando.
so many times from
right.
Baron Von Raschke, Sheik Adnan,
Nando.
you know, slow down, where's the fire?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, or don't beg the crowd. Would you really do that? If that hold was put on you, would you really do that? So Baron's really one who made me start thinking of what would you really do in that situation.
Right.
I remember Coco Beware yelled at me, "Get some heat." So I'm standing over him. So what I do, I start kicking him more, and he's yelling at me, "Get some heat, get some heat." So I thought heat was, you know, I'm like, okay, get some heat. I'll kick him. And then I go to the back, and he open hand cracks me, slaps me.
Wow.
Listen to me out there, blah blah blah. No, but I deserve it. And he was like, "Get heat with the crowd. Let me sell, and you get your heat." why are you on top of me? And I was like, bing. I
Oh,
get it.
so get heat
Well,
is not necessarily
he actually
kick
is
the
a
shit
smart
out of
guy.
you.
Maybe I should start letting get to me. Okay, get away from me.
Aaron Karpinka.
Kick me some more.
Yeah.
80swrestlingcon.com. Don't forget, after 10
Fernando
p.m.,
or
25% off all future signings. I thought you were going to say something else.
No, I'm listening to you sell it.
There you
All
go.
future signings.
Yeah, well, that's, hey, I got to earn my
All
money somehow.
future signings.
All future signings. I'm like QVC in 2021.
I was going to say you're good. You're doing the hype deal. He's doing the radio DJ. Ozzy Osbourne.
I'm just enjoying hearing you guys.
Monday night.
Yes.
After 10.
Thorsten Fritz wants to know, who decided who was a part of the Triple Threat stable? Was that something that Paul had a hand in, or did you decide?
No, the first incarnation, me, Dean, and Chris Benoit started because the three of us sort of hung out and traveled together. And I knew that every company I'd ever watched, promotion-wise, always had that heel stable, the House of Humperdinck, the Four Horsemen, the Heenan family.
Right.
There was always this group of a stable. And I knew ECW didn't have that, and we could use one. So I went to Paul with the idea, and I said, put the three of us together. And they left shortly thereafter. I mean, it was months in, and they were already taken to WCW. Then Candido was a smooth, I'd known him for a while, and he was so damn good, put him in, and that was Brian Lee. And Brian, does anybody know whatever happened to Brian Lee?
No, whatever happened to Brian?
He was there, and then poof, he was gone. Like, he disappeared.
He was back. He was in
Same,
WWE for a little
same
bit.
thing with
like that.
WWE. They was there for a little while. And poof,
Yeah,
gone.
just didn't show up one day, and I figured he'd be back next week or something. Never did. So then Bam Bam came in and figured that, and that made it, seamless.
For me, that was the group. That's what I
it
remember.
was,
Yeah.
But if you look at that,
Yeah,
Bammer had the experience, right? But he also had just come from them having to do cartwheels and stuff, and I think had, like we all did, a belly full of piss and vinegar to show the world that there was something more to Bam Bam Bigelow than just doing cartwheels.
And losing LT.
Or shooting fire out of it, out of those stupid gauntlet things he was wearing. And man, did he come in and impress, because he could work with anybody. He was one of those guys, he could work with Scorp and have a Scorp match with him, work with Jerry, have a Jerry Lynn match, work with Mikey, work with any of us, and just tear the place down. And like to me, his angle with Taz, maybe it's because I was jaded, I was able to watch that as a commentator as I was off the elbow surgery and just watching them. But when they went to the ring that first time, that was like my eyes went boing, 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 because I didn't even know it was coming.
I didn't even know. I bought it. Hook, line, and
Yeah.
sinker. I was like, oh, fuck the ring, bro.
Right. It's great. If we bought it, the fans did, right? It's phenomenal stuff.
Now, were the guys prior to that match all told to stay away from that part of the ring? Or anything?
No, they didn't. I kind of got, me being a high flyer, I was like, hey, it's a little weak. They said, oh, the board's a little weak in that corner. You might want to just work around it.
So they worked you
They
guys.
came
So
to
they
everybody.
really didn't tell me, don't. They didn't say, don't do this corner, don't do this, because I think they had it set up, but they had it propped where even if you did take a bump, it wouldn't go through.
Wow.
Block it or whatever. But when it was time for it to work, man, I don't know.
That's why it worked.
Chris Douglas.
Yeah.
Because the boys are fucked. They'd have fucked it up.
Same thing with the NWA and the belt. They kayfabed everywhere. That's why it worked so fucking good.
Yeah, I sold it. I mean, my
I
first thought was,
I wanted it. I'll take the belt.
Yeah.
Kayfabe the
How
whole
ballistic
room
did
if you
Dennis
want something
Corluzzo
to
legitimately
that's
go?
That's
that
it.
night?
Somebody's
Because
gonna take it off.
Yeah.
It's like that now. It's even worse now with the social media. Everybody got
was
the
leaving
phones.
the
Everybody
building
got the
pissed
cameras
off.
and shit.
And Paul brilliantly ran up to him with a camera. Paul didn't tell me what he was going to do. He said, no, shoot a promo right now. And that's when he shot the promo. So I don't care what Shane Douglas says. He's going to be the NWA champion, and bolts out. So at that point, my thinking was like, Paul swerving me or swerving them? Like, what's wrong with it? That was completely. And honestly, I didn't know. If you go back and watch the promo, I was all week long back and forth. Do it, not do it. Do it, not do it. Because if it didn't work, there were millions of fans that loved NWA. And I was one of them. I didn't want to shit on that legacy or do anything to hurt ECW. And that's why the promo keeps dragging out, because in my head I'm do it, don't do it, do it, don't do it. And when I lock eyes with Corluzzo, he had been on Mike Tenay's radio show that week and said, if you're planning on booking Shane Douglas, don't. He'll take your money and no-show you. Well, we were still making 75% of our money on indies. And I thought, you want me to work for you and you're telling people to not book me. You're taking money out of my family's mouth. And when I locked eyes with him, I heard him saying that, and that's when they can all kiss my ass and threw the belt at him. And he literally had no clue what was going on. Like
He was literally gold
But you did
drop.
still put all those guys over. Ricky Steamboat,
Yeah,
Dusty,
yeah.
Flair, the whole
But,
nine.
but to me, that's what made the promo.
I
I couldn't remember the names. I went out there with a list of names I wanted to say, and I went blank. You know, so because I was so blown up, and the fans started, and Ricky Steamboat and Dusty Rhodes, and it just
the fucking rug and
Justin Gibbons says, best birthday present from my wife, a Mikey Whipwreck autograph. So
That's
there you go.
tremendous.
By the way, tonight after the show, you got to go to the birthday party.
Yeah, he just DM'd Tommy Fierro the address.
So think about that for a second.
Yeah.
So when you talk about all-time promos, right? Like the Austin 316. Well, Austin 316 says, I mean, that was a,
Right.
you know, that promo you cut. which
Stephen
will
Worthington.
Forever, you will forever be associated with that promo.
Worthington, I got
Is identifiable in one sense. The Shane NWA promo. How many other promos are the Dusty Hard Times?
Right?
The Austin 316. 316 says, I just whipped your ass.
Hogan,
What they
these
said.
fans can stick it.
These fans can sing it. But so I mean, think about that. Seriously.
Yeah,
You know, it's part of,
it
it's
works.
true.
History.
And it worked to launch it. When Paul first talked about taking ECW national, in my head, I knew that we were tight in the Eastern Seaboard, you know, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey area. But in my head, I was so naive, I thought that was it. I didn't think there was anybody outside of it who knew who we were. Then we started going to Buffalo and Pittsburgh and all these places, Dayton, Ohio, and
Kissimmee, Florida, I remember,
Kissimmee,
yeah.
and these buildings just packed with people, and those fans, like we said earlier, all rabid as the Philadelphia and New York fans.
I felt like they competed with each other, the fans. It's like
Oh,
they
yeah.
wanted to outdo. Yeah.
I was just at an independent show on Saturday night, and a kid from India came up to me. His family emigrated here about 10, 15 years ago. Said his dad was a taxi cab driver in India, so they couldn't afford cable. He and his brother went and jumped it from the neighbor, you know, did the old tape gimmick, you know, and he said the first thing they turned on when they turned it on was ECW. 12-hour difference, and so, you know, middle of the night here, you know, over there in daytime. And he said the first thing they watched was ECW wrestling, and they thought, like, holy shit, like, America's crazy. And so he comes here and wants to be a wrestler, right? Oh. I mean, that's the greatest form of flattery, right?
Oh, I can only imagine. You probably get that everywhere you go, especially now with WWE Network, well now Peacock, but people that weren't even alive during the ECW heyday, and they've heard so much about it over the years. You're at a show currently, you hear that ECW chant. I mean, that's got to be a huge compliment for you. It's for all the hardships you dealt with, the politics and everything. In the end, that's what's awesome.
It's the pride that comes from that, right? I mean, it's hard enough to leave a mark in the business, let alone leave a legacy that's remembered. The fact that I hear fans, when any of us are appearing anywhere, and you hear that ECW chant break out, you just feel your chest bubbling up with pride, right? Because obviously something that we did in that little dirty bingo hall has echoed through those years, and that's, you know, think about it. As good as the NWA was, you don't hear many people talking about that today. You don't, you know, few of the selected fans. UWF was great in its day. You don't hear fans talking about. We're certainly not chanting it. You know, so the fact that we still are.
How many people chant WCW?
Yeah, it doesn't happen. It's
And to think that I mean, not that much longer than ECW. Maybe a year later they lasted. WCW's almost forgotten about in a lot of ways.
right.
I think a lot of
Raymond Bennett.
I think a lot of it too has to do with the, you know, we always say we're a family, which we are to a degree. We didn't hold
Adam
hands
Barney.
and sing Kumbaya. You know, we all had our differences, whatever, that sometimes spilled out of the ring and into the back. But the mentality of us against them was very, very evident at all times, because we were. Don't hit me when I say this. We were the Oakland Raiders. We were the misfits. we were the misfits. The snake. I love the snake.
The underdogs.
We were the underdogs.
We were Notre Dame.
Well,
No, because you know why? Because Notre Dame can be going into that last game undefeated, and the announcers will always still say, Notre Dame's really got something to prove tonight.
yeah, well, that's the hatred. That's the hatred.
What do you guys think was? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
But it was that us against them mentality, because a lot of us were not accepted by another group at some point in time. So now we have something to prove. When you put a bunch of people who have something to prove, and then on top of that want to outdo each other, then it becomes insane, you know. But then after it's all said and done, like LA. They start the fight. We're in the back, and Jack Victory says, "There they go!" And we all fly out the door, and we're off. And we're 5 minutes earlier. 3 or 4 people are getting ready to throw fists in the back because it's something I can't remember what it was, and then it was there they are. And now we all turn our attention, and now we're a team again because it was that us against them mentality.
How many times did all of us hear, you're just middle of the card, white meat baby face, you're not big enough, you're not this enough, not that enough, right? And it was always those backhanded comments, oh, you're a good little baby face.
You're a good hand, you're a good hand.
Right, yeah. And get right there and that's it. And then here we are all in this bingo hall, right? And Paul's saying, say whatever you want, do whatever you want, throw your shit in.
And it worked.
So
that
Wrestle, go and wrestle.
Yeah.
Get your shit in.
Yeah.
What? Time?
Get yourself over.
Yeah.
I'm sure because you guys were all there kind of around the same time, but different periods in and out. So the answers might be different from all of you. Of course, Shane throwing down the belt, saying this is the ECW World Title, pivotal moment. For each one of you, when was there a moment that you realized, like, wow, this is really getting big? Was it Terry Funk? Was it the first pay-per-view? Was there a moment where you're like, we're really on to something here?
I wouldn't say not until that second pay-per-view. The first pay-per-view, the one in Atlanta, it was big, it was sold out. I wouldn't say not until the second one. And we started, being on TV, getting kicked off TV because of the violence, the cussing, the TNA. We was the first ones, with the tits and the ass, to play with the hardcore. So I think, probably during that time was, I would say,
You guys can just go around if there's any moments, because I just remember going from the Outlaw MSG public access show to then, like you said, pay-per-view, and then Terry Funk's there.
What do you think, Mike?
For me, it was when
Joe A.
we had Arn Anderson, Beautiful Bobby, come in out of nowhere. And I'm just like, holy shit. Like, they were on WCW, guys, WCW contracts, and they're now on our show. Which, at the time, as a fan, that was like a big deal. That was like, oh, and that drew a lot of attention to the product, I think.
I think the biggest thing is when ECW first started, like you say, a lot of guys that was in WCW, ECW, other guys that was probably around a lot of the other groups, they was kind of shitting on ECW because, oh man, these guys are using tables, oh now they're doing chairs. So there was a lot of people that wasn't with it. Then all of a sudden, ECW started going off the map, started blowing up. Now everybody wanted to do it. Everybody wanted a piece of it. Now Vince wanted to buy it and water it down, So it's amazing how it went from here and everybody kind of like, oh, that's not wrestling, all the other, to becoming one of the top companies. Could have been one of the top companies other than, something owned by Vince to work at. You know what I mean? If Paulie wasn't money hungry at that time.
Here's something to think about, right? TNA, Dixie Carter dumps $500 million. Over $500 million into TNA. If somebody had given ECW $500 million in 94, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2000, where would ECW be today?
It would be on the road, and we'd probably all have a position.
The only thing that would
it would all depend if Todd Gordon was running it or if Paul Lee was running it. If Paul Lee was running it, we'd all be going over to his mama's house. I'm like, have you seen Paul Lee? We want money. We need that check. And mom be like, shit, he took money from us. We want money,
We'd all be racing to the bank so you can cash your checks first.
I remember that. We all used to do that shit.
Yeah, me, Sal, Doring, and Gar. The bank was in Metuchen, New Jersey. It was about 20 minutes from my house. And we would literally land and go to the bank.
I don't want to lose that point though, about the $500 million and where you guys would be at now, because even in the 1990s when everything was crazy, right? Jerry Springer, all this stuff, ECW was considered outlaw in the 90s. So now in today's current climate where everything is very PC, do you think ECW would have been able to adapt, or would they have still stayed?
There wouldn't be a network executive that had the balls to put it on the air. No. But they wouldn't also put All in the Family on the air.
Right.
I mean, All in the Family started changing the dynamic, started changing the conversation by making fun of racism, right? The picture of Archie Bunker kissing Sammy Davis Jr., right? What American doesn't remember that drilled into their brain how hilarious it was? Wouldn't be on the air today. But that said, if you push it underground, these new things called computers, I think they're going to catch on. People would start to see it one way or another. If worse, resort back to the old tape trading. And as soon as some executive that doesn't have those cojones sees cha-ching, watch how long PC lasts.
Right.
That's true.
Keep those orders coming in. 80swrestlingcon.com. We are here till 10 o'clock with the ECW Legends. 25% off all future signings at 10 p.m.
Would Paulie bend?
No.
So let's say that happened. Let's say you got, this influx of money, and CBS comes to him and says, "We want to put you on, but here are the rules." Kind of like TNN in a bigger.
He wouldn't do it because he's getting guaranteed money right now for this. So why would he be getting
Douglas Ruth,
sucked back into
South
it?
Carolina.
Well, there are
That's
two
the reason I
examples.
can't see him really doing it unless, contracts running out and I need to reopen up my own company again. But the guys who made the company, we have to start out with all new talent. You know how hard that is to build a company with new talent. Anybody can be a star, but how long is it going to take you to build that star?
Yeah. I was privy to two instances back in the ECW day. The first was as a promoter. I had a person come to me from West Virginia. In West Virginia, there's a company, I forget that off the top of my head, that owns a bunch of stations around the state. And they were offering us free airtime for all these, there were like 8 outlets around the state of West Virginia. And to air us for free, but all they wanted was us sanitizing out all the man on woman bumping because of the domestic violence issue down there. And I'm thinking that's an easy enough thing to do, right? We could still give the product in the building, just sanitize. I was like, not doing it. I said, Paul, we're going to have free TV. And at that time, I was so short-sighted that I didn't see what damage there would be done. But I believe that fans would have seen at some point, again, with the computer and tape trading, whatever else, hey, why'd they sanitize it off in West Virginia? Later than that, before we were on pay-per-view, he had an offer, I believe, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I believe it was with Showtime. They wanted to do an 8-camera shoot with pyro and the whole deal, and Paul turned that down.
Too glitzy.
And I thought, man, that's good. And he would have been right? I mean, ECW wasn't glitzy. It was blood and guts and straightforward. And the way Paul...
It was old school wrestling where the heels came out, you knew who the heels was.
Amen.
Babyface came out, you knew who the babyface was. It was like right away at the beginning of the match, oh, he's heel, or he's babyface. You knew. Now you don't even know who's babyface or who's what. Everybody wants music. Everybody wants pyro. Everybody looks the same. Fuck, who's the fucking heel?
Did anyone else hear Bill Maher talk about the Oscars? He brought that point up. He said, you can't go to a movie today and pick out who the villain is.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Even in the movies.
Even in the movies. You can't, his point was, all these movies today, it's not about, selling tickets. It's about Hollywood going, you know what, we're good people. We're making good fundamentally, valued.
And the comic book movies.
And it's like I saw Kong versus Godzilla the other day with my kids. And I'm sitting there with my wife, and I'm calling the finish. But
With my wife.
Same thing.
She can follow her.
And my kids always say, my daughter always says, Daddy, that's the heel, right? I said, you got it. So, but it was so easy to understand and simplistic.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to
there's going to be a rematch.
Yeah, I didn't have to sit there in the first 10 minutes and go, and I don't want to do that when I watch him. I just want to go, okay, I get it. He's the bad guy. Okay, shark's in the water. Shark's bad. Okay, we're going to hunt the shark. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
We had Cowboy Bob Orton here a few weeks ago, and we were talking about how with Randy Orton now, it's like he's never really a face or a heel. He's always just whatever he is, and then they apply the situation around it. And then I watch WrestleMania, him against The Fiend, and I'm like, you can't have sympathy for Randy Orton. This is the same guy who's just going around kicking everybody in the head. So it's like I don't understand that logic anymore. Everything is just thrown together. Yeah. Definitely missed the days of face and heel. And even in ECW, the faces, some of them had an edge to them, but you could tell they were the face. Tommy Dreamer, you believed, was getting his ass kicked every time you rooted for him. Mikey Whipwreck, the underdog, you saw all of that.
Dutch made a good point during the TNA years. He says, nowadays, all the good-looking, blue-chip, athlete-looking guys are the heels, and all the vampires are the baby faces.
It's like the opposite. The roles have changed, huh?
Sir.
Keep
You
those
was
orders coming
blonde-haired,
in. We're
blue-eyed,
here.
had a good body, you automatically was a face. That was just it. I mean, got a little belly, don't like you go to the gym, you're a heel.
Well, now if you're in good shape, it's offensive. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. We're going to be here with these guys till 10 p.m. It's great just to sit here, hear all these old stories. You can see the camaraderie still exists amongst all of these guys. If you have any questions or comments, keep them going in the chat on our 80s Wrestling Facebook page. Don't forget to follow at 80s Wrestling on Instagram as well for daily content, all the upcoming signings. 25% off all future signings tonight at 10 p.m. for the next 24 hours. Right now we have Todd Schwartz for Shane Douglas.
Ron Simmons.
What's the story?
Damn.
It's a true story. When Ron had gone to the airport to check in for his flight, he was listed down as something Rosenthal.
Oh, okay.
And they wouldn't let him on the plane, so we always ribbed him about,
Just giving him
he
random
said,
names.
do I look like a Rosenthal? Damn.
Yeah, that's the other interesting thing, too. I mean, you think about how much air travel has changed after 9/11, and the stuff that Paul was able to get away with leading up to that point.
You could walk onto a plane back before 9/11 without an ID.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
Yeah.
walk on.
Yeah. It was actually enjoyable to fly.
Yeah, it was.
But now,
Real civil.
everyone is a suspect of being a terrorist until the plane lands safely at its destination. So it's really no fun anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, and little by little, I remember I flew like 9 days after 9/11. The airports had just opened up, and you didn't have to really do anything. You just walk through, and then I flew 2 months after that. And I was like, oh, now I got to take my belt off. Now I got to take my shoes off. And now we're seeing it now. 2 masks, 1 mask, whatever.
Right.
All just keeps changing. David Angus in Canada. David Angus.
Just remember, 32 masks are better than
Canada, eh?
I don't think a lot of the guys today want to be heels.
Oh, God, why not?
Because I can't sell my gimmicks
That's
up
what
on
I
my
was the
heel.
merchandise, probably, right? They
No,
probably,
I think it's more like they
don't want to be hated by the
They don't want to be
fans.
hated.
They
They
don't
want to be
booed.
You know, they want to be
Right.
liked.
Nobody wants to be booed. Everybody want to be cheered and liked. That's why you don't have no heels
And
anymore.
it's more fun to be a heel.
Oh, God.
And years ago, the heels got paid a little bit more because they weren't allowed to go out and try and sell gimmicks.
Right.
The baby face would slip on the deal.
It'll
Hey,
be
I
over. You
did
made me
once,
look good.
but
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for making me look good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've always said one good heel with a ton of heat is worth more than a dozen baby faces.
It's easier to make people hate you, too, right? It's a lot harder to get people to like you, I think, than it is to, like in ECW especially, because, I mean, think about, I always had respect for the guys that came in after that first group because those fans had seen everything. And you got to come in there, you got to try to earn your way onto that spot. And, it's hard to make that crowd love you because they had seen everything.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, as a heel, you could always piss somebody off, right? It's just, and to me, I've done, 11 years of baby facing and I had fun at that. But becoming a heel was just,
So much more easier
just
to
liberating.
beat the baby face down and work the crowd. If you had a baby face that knew how to sell. And you got a heel that know how to talk shit to the crowd, make the fans feel like they're part of the show.
Yeah.
It made it that much more easier.
Bill Dismaris in Warwick, Rhode Island. Well, I guess this for the two of you. You guys are still working the indies right now. So how hard is it when you're put into some of these situations where you could tell, like, this guy that I'm working with has zero clue? I'm not talking green. I'm talking zero clue. Are you facing those situations currently, or are people?
Not really, because I make sure my manager knows that I'm booked with somebody that knows how to work.
Good.
But if I get in the ring with somebody, veterans like us can spot in the first 3 seconds of moving around the ring if somebody knows what they're doing. And if I'm planning on taking the match here and I see them, what Dominic used to call stamping out ants, all of a sudden that match goes down to here and we go back to the safety, number 1. But
Grab a hold on, kid.
yes, sir. It'll be a long set of heat.
No, I got it.
Well, I don't know if you do it, but I got to the point where if I was doing an indie and I was working with someone I'd never met before in my life, never heard of, I'd always have a series of questions I asked, like, how long you been
How long you
wrestling?
been working? Right.
And I ran into one guy who was the champion of the independent company, and I asked him, how long you been working? He says, a little over a year now. I train people too, I'm pretty good. And the first thing I'm thinking is, am I gonna get out of this alive?
Well, guess what, kid?
I've been doing this for a
We
whole
ain't- We
year.
ain't doing shit tonight, kid. We ain't doing shit tonight. You taking an ass whooping. I'm gonna put it out there to you. You either gonna take the ass whooping or you can try to give me one. Okay?
I was a little nervous.
I guess.
I remember towards the end, because I was a manager on the Indies, ring announcer, and whatnot, and I remember towards the end, it was getting to a point where like promoters would have, oh, these are our tag team champions, and it would be a WCW television replica belt, and like an intercontinental belt, and I'm like, you do realize that the people at these shows are wrestling fans. Like they know, like take a little pride in your product.
With the letters spray painted over like one of the W's, right?
Josh Schneider,
Plastic
Louisville,
gems glued on
Kentucky.
there.
Get those orders
You
in
saw those
80swrestlingcon.com. Keep them coming. We're here till 10 o'clock.
The ECW's belt has the gems.
With two old Scorpio.
Remember Paul?
Mikey,
Remember the
Shane
final?
Douglas,
Remember the
and
tag team
Simon
tournament?
Dyer.
Paul forgot the belts.
I want your silvers, please.
Sure. But Paul forgot the belt. Forgot the belts. So everyone's scrambling around in the back, and he sends someone home, and I go, Paul, what do you? Just send someone else to the crowd. I'm sure there's a bunch of replica belts out there.
Yeah. I've been on any show where every match, every single person had a belt.
Oh, Dino Santa in Pennsylvania. I think there's the
Dino
Intercontinental Champion. There's my champion, the Shakahama.
Shaka Hammer, yeah.
80swrestlingcon.com. We are going to be here every Monday night. Not every, but at least 3 a month come summertime. We're back next week with Cowboy Stan Hansen. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in with the ECW Legends here till 10 p.m. We're having a lot of fun. It's like the old school WWE Network Legends Roundtable. A little bit different, a little more fun, a little more loose.
Just missing the beer, alcohol, a little bit of smoke, but other than that, we good.
I'm laughing. There's a meme going around. Someone just sent it to me. It's Chad Gable, and it says, "I'm going to tell my kids this is Ron DeSantis."
Tremendous.
Ryan Kavanaugh in Waretown, New Jersey.
Did anyone see the thing on YouTube? I think this was a couple years ago, where Raven was taking independent guys and he was
Yes.
changing their gimmick.
That was
No.
you shoot. That was Sean Oliver.
What?
Yeah.
You gotta watch it because it's Raven being
It's
Raven.
on YouTube?
Yeah.
It's
what do you search
kayfabe
for?
commentaries, but
Oh.
you can get the clips on YouTube.
Yeah, you can get some of the clips of it, but it's Raven being Raven, where a young guy would come in, get a ring jacket, grow a mustache, get your hair.
Is it true though that he really was so creative? Like, because I mean, that sounds like he came up with a lot of these gimmicks, right? The Dudley Boys and whatnot. I mean, that's also refreshing to hear that a guy that was that creative wasn't putting it all onto himself. He was giving all these other guys opportunities and ideas.
The first time he came in, now I had known him on the road as
Anthony
Scotty
Robles,
Flamingo
Anthony.
and Scotty the Body, and he came in, and I had that image in my head. And we were in a high school somewhere in New Jersey. Me and Paul asked me to stay for. We were shooting his introductory promos. And we were down in the classroom, and he's got his hair all frizzed out, and his leather jacket on, and these jean shorts and something wrapped around him. And,
Flannel, probably.
Unique at the time.
yeah, it was unique and
Very
different,
unique.
and so different from what he was. But then he started talking in that classroom, and he slid against the wall and slid down, and I caught myself like this, like mesmerized.
Mouth open.
Yeah, I just like sucked into it. I thought, you got a home run here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you got it.
That walk to the ring where it just looked like he didn't give a shit about being there and
Yeah.
just morose.
Yes.
And
Well, that was the great thing about ECW is everyone offered their opinion to you, or they would, like, I remember when I first started doing the thing with Dick Hertz, the big jacked up guy, and I was talking in the third person to make it phallic, like
yeah.
every weekend someone would come around and go, I got a great line for you. Oh, your dick is hard. Okay, and I was just taking it all out to the ring. I was, it just, but that's how it was, is everyone, was, and no one got offended. That was the thing.
Yeah.
No one got offended.
Yeah, society's changed so much now.
Really, I
Yeah.
hadn't noticed out there.
I'm a stand-up comic. I had a show Saturday night, and over the last year.
Ooh,
and
that's
most
gonna
of
be
it
a
on
tough
the floor.
gig,
Yeah, well, we had a heckler in the front row on Saturday night, and he was hammered. He was drinking.
Yeah.
And so I gave it to him a little bit. The comic after me gave it to him a little bit, and then afterwards they're coming up to us and they're going, "Just so you know, that guy has Tourette's syndrome." And I said, "Well, just so you know, if you know that, maybe put him in the back.
Yeah.
You know? Or maybe tell him to calm down with the drinking. You know, because I know people with Tourette's syndromes, they don't act like assholes.
Right,
You know, like, you know, so I
And
don't.
alcohol just helps kick it in. Right. Especially if you're taking your medicine and
But that's the
shit.
thing now. Now we have to be sensitive to every, affliction. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting time. So wrestling, it's no different.
Well-
Stephen Worthington.
I've been on shows where a heel has gone out there and gotten so much great heat, and then the promoter will come back and make him go out and apologize to the crowd. I'm thinking, no, that's what you want.
Yes.
Apologize to the crowd.
This dude, what?
We had that situation once.
Yeah, a crucifixion angle. Speaking of the
I mean, it wasn't even that bad. It wasn't something like that.
yeah.
So before my wife and I had kids, every Halloween we would go with this couple that we were friends with, and we would go to a haunted house. And around here in New Jersey, there's a couple really, really good ones. So one year we go to one, and they take you into this tent, and they play a video, and they say, the actors, the people that you're about to see are just actors, and they're not real. So if you do not, and I stood up and I said, I want my money back.
Yeah.
Why? Because you just killed the gimmick.
Yeah.
You just killed it for me. Like, I wanted to think like maybe some escaped lunatic got out
Right.
Yeah.
and killed a guy and put on the outfit, and I might get killed walking in there. That's how I want to
To
feel.
the flip side of that, now there's those haunted houses where you have to sign the waiver. And
Yeah.
it goes, but then
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's some creep who's getting like $12 an hour. He's
Yeah.
gonna be grabbing at you. I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a happy medium.
Well, I always
Colt
thought
Campbell.
back in whatever year it was, 77, 78, when my friend and I went to see the original Halloween. And 79, but being completely wigged. When he sat up on that, after the knitting needle, he sat up, my hair went, what? Like, what the hell?
Greatest horror movie of all
Oh, it was
time.
great.
Greatest horror movie
But
of
now
all time.
imagine if before that movie started, theater goes dark, you got your popcorn and your Coke, right? Theater goes dark and John what is his
Carpenter.
name? Carpenter comes up on the screen, 40-foot tall, saying, "My name's John Carpenter, I'm the writer and director of Halloween. I thank you for coming to see my movie tonight. All the blood you're about to see is K-Ro syrup with the food coloring in it. No one died making this movie. Have a good time." You would have made it a comedy, right?
Yeah, well,
You'd have laughed through the whole thing.
And that's why I had a problem when I started seeing the disclaimers from all these streaming services, because I said the next thing is just going to be removal. And now when we're seeing stuff like WWE content being edited or taken off for Peacock, people are like, oh, well, they should just do a disclaimer. No, the disclaimer is the problem too. It's entertainment. You're paying for it as a subscription service. I want to see what I remember watching back in the day.
Well, I've always hated where it's okay for shows like CSI to show in grisly detail how murders are committed and stuff on primetime television.
Right.
But wrestling, you better not dare push the envelope too
Right.
far, you know?
God forbid you bleed when you get your head slammed into a steel
Still
pole.
surprised they ain't shot nobody for real on WWE. That's the only thing they haven't done. They pulled the gun, but they pulled the trigger yet.
I wonder whatever happened to just change the channel.
Yeah, for Giannis
no
and
kidding,
Greece.
right?
Giannis and Greece, I'm sorry.
Whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
I hate that saying. I'm so mad I'm leaving.
Remember earlier when you asked if you guys sound like a bunch of old men?
Can you imagine, I mean, Francine and all the girls in ECW,
Oh,
the
God.
verbal abuse they took from the crowd?
Oh, God.
But they didn't let it affect them. But that was a compliment because they figured they were doing their job right if they were generating that kind of heat.
Absolutely.
I remember that show in Wildwood. You wrestled Chris Chetty, Rick Rude, who wasn't even advertised, and you would think because 2 months later he was in WWE.
Right.
Rick Rude just came out and literally kidnapped Francine while you were in the ring.
Right.
You know, nowadays there'd be a blog about that, and how it's just
Right.
it's crazy.
Well, I think back to when we were doing the promos after Gary's neck had gotten broken. And we were doing, honestly, they made me cringe doing them. They were so tasteless, you know, making fun of crippled people and stuff, and just awful stuff. And
That was you.
but that's what made it work, right? That's when Gary came back. Well, first of all, we grabbed the halo and threw
Oh my
it
God.
back.
That was
Oh
place
man,
was
that
shit,
was
right?
the
Yeah.
one.
The whole place went like,
They
there was
wanted
no
to kill
noise.
you.
It was like a
They
gas,
wanted
a
to
collective
kill
gas.
you
Yeah,
that
to
night.
quiet
They
that
wanted to
crowd.
kill you.
Well, Franny was laying face down, right? So she knew none of this is going on. And I'm trying to gauge the crowd because the crowd has gone from this collective, oh my God look, to fangs out. And then I saw out of the corner of my eye, camera left, fans jumping the railing, so I said, well, let's go this way.
Yeah.
So I'd jump out of the ring to grab Franny, and I'd see the guy come around the corner with the head-to-toe gear on. Helmet, face mask, shoulder pads, the whole gimmick. And Paul had always told me, if you see these guys, you know you're in imminent danger. So I thought somebody had a gun to the back of my head or something. We got to the car and driving away, and for some reason, Terry Funk, and I'm going to need you to imitate this in a second, said, Shayna, you won't know till after if you've been cut. So I was sitting in the car, and I looked at Francine, I went, am I bleeding? Is anything sticking out? I thought I was going to see an axe here, a bullet wound here, but just crazy. But that's what made it work, all that tasteless bullshit BS.
Both those angles, even the one with
Luke and Brendan in Canada.
and the
Luke and Brendan.
blinding,
Yes.
It was because they worked the fucking angles. And when Gary went to the store, he would put the brace on. He wouldn't walk around town without the brace on. If he was at home, I'm at home, but if he went out in public, he would put the brace on. That's what got him angle over. That's what they used to do in the olden days.
Same with Sandman when he got blinded.
When he got blinded.
Wore those bandages the whole time.
But that was respect for the business.
Right.
See, I had no idea that was happening. So when they brought back Hack on the stretcher, and Nancy's yelling at him, and Tommy's yelling saying Nancy, I'm going, oh my! I thought it was legit.
Really?
We used to shoot names, and I had no idea.
Yeah,
Like, I was,
yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck! Hack really got fucked up.
I think one of the most genius things for me, Steve, at that time was when they had Sandman's kendo stick called the Singapore cane, because that was a huge news story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And nowadays they just lay around the ring or under the ring at WWE with no meaning. Apparently, the ring crew is just putting kendo sticks underneath there.
Right.
Back then, when he hit somebody with that, you were like, holy shit.
Sure.
Little things that wind up selling the gimmick.
Well, what you're talking about is a kid in Singapore that
Yep.
did some vandalism or something.
Spit
and-
gum or something.
Yeah, excuse me, and I had to turn down, but and got sentenced
So many,
to like 20 canings or something.
20 lashes
Yeah,
with the cane.
yeah.
I remember when that happened. Hack was doing a promo with Tommy Cairo,
Yep.
and Hack, it must take him 40 times to go, Michael Faye. No, Hack. Oh, wait a minute. What's his name? It was just numerous takes.
Kyle James, this is great. I feel like it's a game night and we're talking about old stories. There you go, 80swrestlingcon.com. Feel free to share this video to your Facebook page as well. Tell your friends. We're going to be here till 10 p.m. with the ECW Legends. Get those orders in. We still have an auction coming up later. We're going to be raffling off the ECW Replica Heavyweight title. We got a wrestling boot. We have the first issue of the ECW magazine. Those are all going to be available for auction later on, all signed by the gentlemen at this table.
Sweet.
I'm gonna turn this thing down.
How about Hack in the ring? Yo, how many people want to see RVD drink a BER? No, wait a minute. It's EER.
He could have taken a shit in the ring. Excuse my French. It wouldn't have mattered. He was so over.
Oh,
He
yeah.
just, he.
The Golden Dome in Pittsburgh. I'll never forget. He gets there late, gets in the ring. Yo, I'm rolling so hard right now.
When Chris Candido passed away, the funeral, the wake work was held in New Jersey, and so afterwards, a bunch of us all went, me, Johnny Candido, a bunch of the local Jersey Shore guys, we went to Bar A in Belmar, which ECW actually ran a show out of.
Yeah, I remember Bar A,
And
yeah.
Sandman's like, I need to change my clothes, because, he was dressed nice for the funeral.
Yeah.
And he comes out, and he was wearing the American flag Zubas
Zubas
pants.
pants, yeah.
But a Napoleon Dynamite had just come out. I don't know if you ever saw that movie with the martial
yeah.
arts instructor. So some guy who had, no idea who Sandman was, just went up to him and was like, hey, how would you like a roundhouse kick to the face while wearing those bad boys? The line from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's just sitting there going, how about you get the fuck out of my face? And I'm just like, oh my God. Because, I had always heard those stories. No, that's the real him.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
you
it
see
is.
it,
Yeah.
Mike Travis in Staten Island, New York. And he's got a little bit for everybody.
Aren't Zubas coming back? Didn't they make a comeback?
I think
Did they?
so.
I
think so.
I don't think I could pull off that.
I said,
walk.
Sandman,
10.
he's one of those people who's put a camera on him for 24 hours and
Yeah.
don't laugh for 23 and a half.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal stuff, just hilarious.
He was in that document, the Last Dance document.
Yeah.
Did you see? He was. I was like, how'd that happen?
Standing right behind
Yeah.
Jordan, yeah.
What's he up to nowadays? You guys keep in contact? Or?
Oh, yeah. He's, still out there plugging away and making appearances, and he's got some things going around his, I think, a business or something around his house, and he's slowed up on the drinking. You guys can all appreciate this. A couple of years ago, we're at a showdown with Moose right down in West Virginia, and we stop at a Buffalo Wild Wings after. So I go up and get the first round. I said, Hack, what do you want to drink? He goes, I don't drink anymore. I went, no, seriously, what do you want? He goes, I don't drink anymore. I went, like, what, huh? The planet stopped spinning?
Yeah.
Are you sick? You all right?
Yeah, like, are you dying?
You on medication?
David Rosenthal. David.
David.
You're kidding. That's Ron Simmons.
I thought it was Todd Rosenthal. Or no.
Those
I look like a
Long time
Rosenthal,
ago.
Thorsten Fritz to Mikey. When was the moment you knew you didn't want to stay in WCW? Was it the Junkyard Invitational Brawl?
No, it was before that. I had my first match with Kidman, and Uncensored, which was a fucking giant clusterfuck to begin with because
That was what, 96? 97?
99.
99, okay.
I was going to go in 96. Shane talked me out of it.
Oh, okay.
But it was so fucked up because I got 6 different finishes. First comes over, Jimmy Hart goes, hey, Mikey, you're up with your finish. Okay. Then Dusty Rhodes comes over, Mikey, baby, you take the 450. I said, okay.
David Rosenthal.
Then Arn Anderson comes over, Mikey, you're up with your finish. Okay. So it's like constantly getting a different thing all the time.
Yeah.
And I said to Kidman, I said, what the fuck do we do? He goes, the last thing we hear before the curtain. So then Dusty comes over again, Mikey, baby, you up with your finish. I ran to the curtain. I said, that's it. That's right.
Hit the music.
Hit the music right now. I don't even need the music. I'm hitting the ring.
But went out as a heel. Never been a heel before. It just was like first time for everything. And I'll just never forget that before the match, before the show started, Bobby Heenan comes to me and goes, hey, Sheep Dick. He goes, can I play with your name? I'm going, Bobby, you can do anything you want. Like, you just talking about me on TV was just sick. Like, my head was exploding.
Yeah.
And then, do you have a charger? Yeah. And I remember meeting Kurt Hennig, and introduced myself to Kurt Hennig, and he completely blew me off. Like,
Really?
yeah, like, pfft. I said, okay. So, had the match with Kidman. I thought it went pretty good. As I was leaving, Bobby Heenan went like this. I'm like, oh my God, he just acknowledged me, like, under the table.
Nice.
But, came back, and it was Kurt Hennig goes, Kurt Hennig, pleasure to meet you. I said, oh, I introduced you before. He goes, yeah. He goes, look. He goes, they bring so many people in here who have no idea what the fuck they're doing. He said, you can work. Wow. And I was like,
Yeah.
From him.
That's awesome.
And you were like this back in the dressing room, right?
Floated.
pretty much.
David Rosenthal.
I didn't take my boots off.
Two pictures.
Oh my God.
You're not getting a better compliment than that.
And then the next month, I'm a babyface, working with Scotty Riggs, who's not with
Chris
Hill for
Curtis.
some reason, coming out to a mirror. And I'm thinking, so Riggs is like, this is my first time being a heel. I said, oh, well, this is my first time being a babyface here because I did the pay-per-view last week and haven't seen since. So I'm like, okay, well, this sucks. And then I don't think I did anything else until that Junkyard Invitational.
I don't remember the Junkyard Invitation. I was
Neither do
watching
I.
it at that time.
But that was the thing, they had the Junkyard, and this thing was sick. If you were there live, they had all the cars lined up, and they were stacked high as like an arena.
Okay.
They had garbage cans on fire and shit. I mean, it looked sick.
Now, was this for the hardcore title at the time they had? Or was this?
But it was sick. I'm like, we had to fly in a day early for pay-per-view always. And I remember saying to Dusty, I said, Dusty, are we pre-taping this? No, we're gonna do it live. I'm going. So I'm thinking if we pre-tape it, all the guys can do all their shit. We can stop playing it.
Exactly.
They could splice it together, just the brawling and everything else, and it would have looked nice. But no, they did it live and from a helicopter, and the shots were all kind of crazy like this, kind of like Vince does it now. Awful. And
Bubba Call says, did Dave Taylor win it? Does that ring a bell? Dave Taylor winning it?
Fit.
Mikey says Fit may have won it.
Maybe not, I don't know. But I remember Hack was all into it, and then he found he wasn't winning. He's like, oh, fuck this. And I remember I started up on the cars with Hack, and as soon as it starts, Hack runs over to me, and he goes, yo, cut me off with something. So I'm looking around, going, what the fuck? So I saw there was like an antenna on a car. And I'm trying to fucking pull this thing off. I couldn't get it off. He goes, "What do you got?" I go, "I got nothing." He goes, "Yo, I'm rolling." Oh my God. And then Regal was just like, "The fuck is going on?" and he pulled me. He goes, "Michael, stay with me. You won't kill me." And then we all just ran away, and something blew up. And it was just like,
That is so much fun. 80swrestlingcon.com here till 10 o'clock with the ECW Legends. Don't forget, at 10 p.m. for the next 24 hours, 25% off all future signings. And this signing will be available to watch in its entirety at 80swrestlingcon.com within a couple of days, along with all the past signings as well. Bubba Call says, if he says Finley, I believe him. I think Taylor was near the gate. I'm going to have to go home and look this up because I don't remember that at all.
I was concussed during that match, so I don't remember. But I think it was Phil.
How many documented concussions do you think?
Me?
Yeah.
14.
14, wow.
Plus there's more. There's definitely more.
You ain't hit the big times to get 20, kid.
20 over, kid. 20 over.
I feel like I'm slacking.
How many fingers? 4. Get out there. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Don't you
Shake
remember
it off.
Don't you remember the promoter saying, "Oh, good, it's just a concussion. Go ahead."
No, years ago it was just, man, I really got my bell rung, and you still next night you went and worked.
I got two bad concussions, back-to-back nights, working for Benoit Malenko. The first night, Benoit powerbombed me into fucking God knows where. Like my head ricocheted, ding, 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 ding. And I just, ask you, Scorp, that's your fault, because you weren't there. I took your spot and teamed with Norman Smiley.
What always amazes me about those concussion stories, though, is that you'll hear a guy go, "Oh, I got a concussion at this point in the match. I don't remember anything after that." And you go, "Oh my God, you went another 20 minutes after that." Like that's the stuff that blows my mind. It's not like it was lights out, match over. You guys would keep going out and working, so you have to kind of wear that as a badge of honor. That you guys. No.
That's one thing about the business
Dumb luck
today.
or something.
I like that they take care of the guys.
No, I mean that. But
If I know what I
it's a
know
testament
now,
to how
if I
hard you
did
guys
what that
work.
shit would have happened,
No, it's a
I would have
testament
been on the
just to hit it.
sideline. Like, fuck that shit.
With age comes with.
Pin me.
Okay, I'm done.
But what would the alternative have been back then? I'm not going out. I mean, that was just the way business was
Didn't work. It
done.
didn't get paid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you
It
had
was,
to.
the mentality was different.
Yes.
And
The
we
same
laugh
as I
and joke
receive
about
it is
but
the same as I give it. Oh, you ring my bell? I'm gonna ring your bell.
Yeah.
Well, next.
But I do remember, like, the promoters or the agent or whatever saying, you get back from the hospital, they say, "Oh, concussion, good. That's all just a concussion. You're good."
Right,
it was
just
like,
get
no
that
big
shit.
deal.
You're all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, shake it off. Oh, you'll be fine tomorrow. Shake it off.
Shake it off. But it hurts when I shake. That's all right. Just keep
Yeah,
shaking
but
it.
I use my brain once in a while, like here and there.
But I got the one from Benoit.
Hey, we
Right,
got
right.
Dr.
She
Bob.
said, "Don't do
Dr.
that."
Bob.
The second
Don't do
night,
that, right?
on a reverse bulldog,
Come on,
I walked
Dr.
in with a
Bob.
powerbomb, and Malenko came off with the bulldog. He just lost my head and just out.
Well, that and the ECW locker room was you just didn't say no.
Right.
Right.
And it wasn't.
And you better not put your hands up. People will talk
screw
shit
that. I ain't gonna
about
hands
you.
I took that one night from Balls.
Yeah, I took it one
Oh,
time.
Bless you.
Lord.
And I tasted acid in my mouth for days.
When I was in WCW, I'd get together with a good friend of mine, and at 2 o'clock in the morning on some obscure channel, we'd watch ECW. And I told him, I said, that is one company I will never work for. Because we were watching Balls and Sandman trade chair shots. And the seat of that chair would end up like a V.
Yeah.
And the fans were handing over the rail frying pans, and literally a microwave oven, and clocking each other with it.
A Nintendo, I saw.
Yes,
and
a
New Jack
Nintendo,
once
yes.
lifted, which made me pop.
Solid-ass
New
Nintendo.
Jack opened the door on the Nintendo and blew into it, like you used to have to do. Then closed it and then hit somebody over the head with it.
And I swore up and down, I said, that's one company I'll never work for. And so Candido called me one day and he says, yeah, Paulie wants to know if you want to come in for a couple shots. And I said,
Yeah,
I said, here's how much I said, all right. I said, here's how much I want. And I said, one more thing. And he says, what's that? And I said, I don't want some idiot hitting me in the head with the frying pan. And he said, no, we got our brawlers and we got our wrestlers.
Right.
But I learned, it didn't take too long to learn that I was going to have to get hit with that kendo stick, chairs, go through tables.
Hit me in my back.
But that taught me that this business is going to continue to change and evolve. And if you want to survive in it, you have to be willing to change and evolve with it. But there are certain basic principles that I won't say because I still believe in kayfabe that I think still will always apply.
Absolutely. The fundamentals. It's like fundamentals.
Michael Anderson in Cranford, New Jersey.
Knowing the fundamentals before you do anything.
J.R. Sanchez for Mr. Scorpio over there.
So my
Gotcha.
daughter is now playing softball. She was playing travel soccer, but now she's transitioning to softball. Her main sport is basketball. But so I'm in her practice, and I'm watching them teach footwork, and I'm going, boy, this is really not what I learned at VCU and stuff. And so I start talking to the coach, and the coach's like, well, it's just a more efficient way to blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, no, they're still teaching this in the major leagues. Why are you teaching this in softball? It was just a little odd to me. But to your point, there's always going to be basic fundamentals. And like to me, one of the most basic fundamentals that's lost in today's wrestling is good guy, bad guy, white hat, black hat. Just establish the villain first, and then everything else is just, it's easy.
Well, I was taught too, I always assume there's someone in that crowd that doesn't know who you are. So the minute you step to that curtain, whether it be with your mannerisms, your persona, anything, you tell them right away, who are you?
Who are you? What are you about? How does that reflect the way that you act?
Yeah. You don't know me? What's my name? Better ask somebody.
Well, that was that was one of the things that I wasn't a fan of the ECW champion, and here's why.
Because it took away from the guys? Is that where you're going? Yeah.
Because the only guy that was making money off of the ECW chant was Paul Lee. If they were, they would chant RVD's name. And so when, because I was always in that mid card, so when guys would be like, and we'll do this, and then stay down, we'll get the chant. And I thought to myself, I don't want the chant. I don't want the ECW chant. I want them chanting your name. Yeah. Because as a heel,
either a yay or a boo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't like that.
It's not as bad as the what chant, though, that lasted 20 years. I'm waiting for Steve Austin to apologize for that one.
Who'd he ever beat?
I need another picture of the blue one.
I can hear Scotty in the back. Who'd he ever beat?
Or if they need another picture.
I've made more money off the match with him, probably than my career combined. Just that one match.
With Steve Austin.
Just because when he came in, he said, Paul's like, oh, we'll put you over. He goes, no, put Mikey over.
Wow.
He goes, if I beat Mikey, he goes, what's the big deal? Like, he's your champion, let him beat me. So that weekend I got to work Mysterio and beat him, and then Steve Austin the next night. And
but you had to beat me to get the belt.
That's right.
You had a run of wins right there during that time.
Yeah, right. But it was like one of those things where, because he came in and would do business, it was unselfish. I'm thinking, this is Steve Austin. Like, this guy,
Just right out of WC. He's just right off of
Yeah.
And he was huge in WCW. He had the United States title, right? Yeah, he was on TV every week.
He's tag team with Brian, so it was just like, holy shit, great. Like, it was crazy. And then we're working the match, and at that point, I had done nothing really offensive. When I was teaming with a Cactus, it was really pretty much just whatever. When I worked Scorpio, we pretty much called everything. And then when it got to, and Hack was everything A to Z, like in between, like it was like down to the second. Hit me, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, you were 3/4 of a second.
There were times like we'd be laying on the mat, he's going, 1. I'm going, holy fuck, he's counting. But working with Steve, and I remember he said, we're on the floor, and he's got the heat on me, and he shoots me the rail. He says, switch it and take over. So I reverse it. He takes the rail. He says, take over. I go, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
What do I do now? I ain't never had to take over nothing.
Yeah. Wait, I gotta show some offense now? Wait,
Yeah. So I started punching him, throw him back into the ring. He rolls to the corner, and he starts pointing at his elbow. So I'm going, so I started kicking his elbow. And it was, right after that we went home, but it was just like, reverse, switch and take over, okay.
I'm gonna edit David Rosenthal's question a bit because you already talked about the Queen's Elks Lodge earlier. But he wants to know.
What did you get?
Holy smokes!
Storm.
What's
Another
up,
one of the
buddy? How are
fans.
you? Good to see you. Good to see you.
You bring all your pads there to think about?
You can, Chris, you can take your mask off.
How are you? Pull up a
I'm
chair.
all vaxxed up. What's going on, man?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
You never know who's going to show up at 80s Wrestling Con. So here we have
Gotta
Devin
be somebody
Starr,
from the 80s.
ECW, WWE, Crowbar, and WCW joining us.
The best thing is if you have any aches or pains, see Chris.
Yes, physical therapist.
Oh, certified, that's right, ain't you?
But real
Your
quick,
shit, by the way, Chris, that you're doing now on Twitter with the goblet and all. Oh my God, so good.
okay.
What have I been telling you?
Oh, I love it.
Bro, he starts showing me this
This is
stuff.
for Mikey Whipwreck, right? Carlo.
He's texting me these videos he's making, and I'm going, bro, you are onto something here. Just keep doing it. It's awesome. It's awesome. And he'll call me and goes, hey, did you see the latest video? What do you think? It's awesome. It's tremendous. And I'm just like, you're onto something here.
Yeah.
You are, because no one's doing it. Again, no one's doing it.
Yep.
Everyone's doing this. You're doing this.
Would you like to plug your social media while you're here? Anybody?
At WCW Crowbar.
There you go.
Sweet. Watch me be a pompous ass and all
So entertaining.
videos.
And if you guys have any social media plugs, please feel free to throw them out there. A lot of guys I find, they are either all in on the social media or they want nothing to do with it whatsoever. So
I'm still learning. All I got is it's Jerry Lynn
Okay.
on Twitter.
At the franchise SD and Shane the franchise Douglas on Facebook.
Why
And on
can't you
Gab,
keep it
it's
the
just
same?
Shane Douglas.
You got me on shit,
You
dog.
can have the
5
same
years you
thing.
can.
Hey, well,
Working
that
on
one
it.
came up with something. Like, I think it was the way when you
Took
first
me
typed it
forever.
up.
Oh,
I think I put like
refuse.
I was just
all right, hold on. I gotta.
here we go.
So it says, "Who's Leonard Cohen?" And this is from Mikey Whipwreck.
Yeah.
That's how he wants it. Who's Leonard Cohen?
Leonard Cohen is probably the worst singer I've ever heard in my life. Hilarious. But this shit that Cactus would listen to in the car.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yes.
Leonard Cohen?
Oh, and Shane, you have no idea.
He's a big Tori Amos fan too.
Oh, good.
This was
He's
like-
the one.
This is like, he took I had a Black Sabbath CD, and it was on. And he goes, Mikey, he checks it. He throws it out the window.
You threw it out the window?
On Interstate 80, I'm going,
Black Sabbath?
yeah, what? He goes, Mikey, as a father of 2 young children, I cannot condone you listening to the likes of Ozzy Osbourne. He's satanic and evil, and I will not tolerate in the car. You're going to listen to some wholesome Leonard Cohen. And he puts it in. And I'm going, the fuck is that? It was horrible.
He's a very sensitive guy.
Absolutely the worst. And then he would get mad. We'd be driving down Interstate 80 in the fall. He goes, Mikey, look at the beautiful fall foliage. I'm going, I don't give a fuck. Please. I don't care. You know, then he's talking about the Amish people. And Mikey, since you're going to get a ride home with somebody else, I'm going to stay at a beautiful bread and breakfast here in Amish country. I said, you do that. I'll see you tomorrow.
That's awesome. So funny.
Yeah, it was. He was amazing to ride with. But
so gentle outside of the ring,
Yes.
and then the bell rung, and
yes,
It was
your
like
hands
first
up.
time I saw Mad Dog Vachon behind the scenes. Just quiet and soft spoken. But get out in the ring, holy smokes. I was born in the gutters of Algiers. It was crazy.
Emil Menard, our 80s Wrestling Con undisputed auction champion. He's got the old WWF promo, Jerry Lynn.
when Jimmy Hart did that XWF thing, I worked with Piper on a couple house shows, doing like an interview segment and a little thing, and talking in the back, and he was like, if you don't mind, maybe we'll do this, or maybe, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then you
This is
got
Piper
out
you're
there,
talking about,
and
yeah.
then you got out there, and it was a whole nother story.
Yeah.
A whole nother story.
Yeah, I remember even towards the end there, he was doing a bunch of the Piper's Pits on the indie shows. And same thing, even when he would speak to the guys, real mild-mannered, quiet, and then out there, ballistic. The Piper that we knew. It was amazing to see him turn it on and off like that.
And then literally, you'd be up with the, be careful out there. Bing, here comes music. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
Terry was like that.
We got the ECW, and hold that thought because I want to hear the Terry Funk impersonation that I've been hearing about for hours. But this is for Simon Diamond, the ECW Anarchy Rules '99 DVD cover. Sweet. And for Jerry Lynn, I love when the fans send in all this personal stuff. This is for Andy Hammerlink, who I believe is in the UK.
So this says New Jack on the Warpath, Simon Diamond and DeVito versus Chris Chetty and Nova. Simon has a problem and the original gangster is going to settle it. I'd run out of the ring.
We're just talking about it.
I wish I would take it off.
Yeah. Well, even as a fan, the magazines I have, I didn't take very good care of them. Some of these people send in magazines from 1980 that are in mint condition.
Pristine, right? Yeah.
Follow the deal.
You guys probably see a lot of amazing stuff, even pre-COVID, and the signings in person.
Oh, yeah.
Josh remembers.
You know what I was telling you yesterday, it's pretty cool, is fans are bringing up pictures, and you look at the picture,
Took care of it.
it's like from 20 years ago, it's a picture of them as a kid with you.
Wow.
And they want to take a picture now,
Yeah.
and it's pretty wild.
It is wild. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. We're here with the ECW Legends. We have a surprise drop in from former ECW Devin Crowbar Storm. He's here tonight. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in.
That was the thing with Cactus. Like, I was a huge fan of his
John
TV before,
McGinley.
when he was working Texas. And you could watch him on ESPN every day at 4 o'clock. But, like, huge fan of him. Like, you see he's stiff. Like, you just see it. And then I would team with him. And I would see, man, he's stiff. Wow. And then when I worked him that one time, I'm going, holy fuck, he's stiff. But then he gets me in the corner. He starts throwing those forearms in the corner. And he's hitting the fuck out of me. But I'm going, this is awesome.
Here we have for Ron LaFon. This is the Shane Douglas promo photo from the Nelson Twin days. Can't live without your love affection, Shane Douglas.
Is that what he was wanting to do? Is that what he was wanting to do?
Wow. Is there a...
That was when you did the 91 Rumble, I believe?
Yes, it was 90, yeah, sure was. 98, 91 Rumble, yeah.
I remember SummerSlam was Warrior and Rude in the Cage of the Spectrum, and you, I think you were the opening match or the dark match of that pay-per-view? Because I was in the crowd. It was at the Spectrum.
I bet dark match.
I remember you came running down. Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was
this came running down.
Yeah.
That was SummerSlam.
Not this.
I'm
Because
going
they
to
were
get
110%.
110%.
Yeah. This guy. Come on.
I hated that guy. He sucked.
You're a good little baby.
Good little baby man, right?
Good little.
Good hand.
Good hand.
Does anybody have a purple
No purple.
or an orange?
Oh, they want it in red.
Oh, they want it red. Yeah. Good thing you saw that.
No, it's no problem. But I remember, and I was a real young kid, but I remember they had vignettes that they were building you up for the Rumble, right?
Yeah, well, no, it was actually beyond that. What Vince wanted to do, and I wore the outfit later in WCW, I believe. The girls had made this outfit. It was denim with silver conchos and fringe hanging off of it. Vince wanted me to go into the studio to see if he could create a real rock star, because I used to play bass and sing and things. Jimmy Hart had written 3 songs. I can't remember the third, but the first one was called Rockin' Down the Halls. The second one was American Girls. There was a third song. When he came to the Pittsburgh Civic Arena, he had a little boom box, and he had written or had recorded 3 versions of the music: a pop version, a rock version, and a heavy metal version. And in the dressing room with no equipment or anything, I sang to each one, and we settled on the mid-range in the rock version. We were supposed to go into the studio, which is when my dad became sick with COPD, and I had to leave and have that talk with Vince, and you know, it didn't never happen. But that outfit, I believe I wore in with Ricky Steamboat. There's a picture of me with Ricky Steamboat wearing that outfit. That was made by the WWF. What were their name? Terry and
Kelly.
Terry Kelly, and there were 3 of them.
Joanne?
Wasn't there a Julie?
Julie. Yep, there you go. Yeah, they made that.
She was married to Droz, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, this is like promo memory lane for Shane coming up. We got the Revolution WCW photo. Well, look at that. Well, here we go. Speaking of that rock star.
There it is.
There you go.
With the jacket. With the
And here with,
jacket.
with Hall of Famer Torrie Wilson. And, of course, Dean Douglas. So all these promo photos.
You know, every time like we get WCW or ECW right, and somebody had to work with Francine, I said, "I'll do it." And then WCW I was always taking one for the boys, right?
Yeah.
Twist your arm.
No, they were all great. Tori and Franny especially, both eager learners, both wanted to work. the biggest problem I had with both of them was sometimes them wanting to do more than they really could. Like after Fran got power bombed to the table, she didn't say no to that, but she was not prepared to take that big of a bump. And I was afraid that if we continued down that, she'd get hurt. And Tori, the same thing. Not that it came up much in WCW, but when we did the thing, Crowbar was phenomenal professional. We did the thing where Bill Goldberg ended up spearing me at the end of it. But we had Tori was
Tossing off the mezzanine that night.
yes, took an incredible bump off, way up in the stands in the entrance area. There was a table down below, and I was hesitant to do it. Yeah, and just took a hell of a bump over that. And Tori was doing the thing because it was sort of like in those early ECW days. Francine was getting sort of a pop. Bammer was getting sort of a pop. Chris was getting in between that. I'd get the boot. It was like a compendium of responses. Tori so damn beautiful that nobody would boo her, right? So we came up with a line for her, don't blame me for being this beautiful, and she was finally starting to get heat, and they were starting to come to me with ideas. What if Goldberg speared her, or what if I'm like, maybe not just yet, right? Right. It's a little bit.
And
too
why would
much.
they do that with Goldberg, the ultimate babyface on the cover of TV Guide,
Right.
spearing a little blonde woman?
Right. And later with again some epic names in XPW with Rob Black's wife,
Lizzie Borden?
Lizzie Borden. Another Lizzie. It's chair shots, but Lizzie ended up taking a power bomb from Vic Grimes. Supposed to be on the table. The table was about 12 inches, and she went right. She was there, and somehow just went right between the 12-inch space and hit on the concrete floor and punctured a lung. Ended up in the hospital for like a week, and then had to take a train all the way back to California because she couldn't fly. And that was the kind of stuff I was worried about with Tori and Franny and all the girls, right? Because, they're beautiful, but they don't have the heft to take those kind of bumps.
And the guys want to bump them,
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
We're just going to push through some of these last couple items so we can get to the live auction, which is going to be a lot of fun because the people compete with each other in the chat. But don't forget, we're here till 10 p.m. with Devin Crowbar, Storm, Simon Diamond, Shane Douglas, Mikey Whipwreck, Jerry Lynn, and Too Cold Scorpio. Get those orders in at 80swrestlingcon.com. Let's bring over more. I got the next couple pictures are Joseph Bruin. There are 3 different Shane Douglas promo photos. We're going to put that right here. But right here we have the replica ECW World Heavyweight title. This one's actually really well made. Sometimes you see a bunch of different ones. Some are very flimsy. This is pretty good. This is going to be signed by Shane, Mikey, and Jerry Lynn.
That's the one they use Taz's personal replica.
Taz's personal replica.
Yeah, look.
Okay, see, I never was aware of that before.
Yes.
And then, not to be confused with the FTW championship belts. So I guess we'll just pass this around.
I never knew. What does FTW stand for?
Brother.
Brother.
He's got a spot where he wants you to sit.
Hey, and I'll
Didn't
let
they
you
put
in.
you with Sherry for a while, Shane?
Yeah.
Somebody asked about that in the comments.
Yeah, Sherry. She was phenomenal. Great story about Sherry.
She could bump.
Remember we did the promo. Remember we did the promo at the Marriott with me and Funk after we did the 3-way dance, and Funk got the belt. And my promo was I was the only guy that went all 60 minutes. Yeah, so I should be the champion. We got in each other's face. He throws a curveball to me. He goes, "Okay, Shane Douglas, you're the champion." And he puts the belt on my shoulder. I was like, "What? A curveball?" So I took it, meaning to throw it back onto his shoulder. And when I threw it, it did this crawl and climb around his head. And I thought he's gonna beat the shit out of me, right? And he throws that smack back. We had everybody there to pull us apart. You know, to pull apart, it's supposed to be this, right?
Right.
And somebody's going, "What the hell going on?" I'm going crazy. Who the hell's so damn stiff, right? With the crowd break, because there's a lot of people pulling us apart. I go back and watch the video after. Sherry's got me scissored. Sherry's got me scissored in between. I can't get away from her.
These 3 are blue shark. That last one.
I can't count the amount of times that
Yes.
I would listen to ideas of how to bump away managers' heat. I remember in TNA, what's his name now in WWE? Drake Maverick. Little
Rockstar
Spud.
Spud.
He had so much heat at one point in TNA. And we're sitting there in a meeting, and someone's like, "Oh, blah blah blah," and then just bump him. I was like, "Well, why? Why do you don't bump away his heat? Why do you want to? Don't touch him. Don't touch him until the time is right to touch him."
Right.
And I brought up the Grand Wizard. I said, "Did you ever see the Grand Wizard take a bump?" because I didn't.
Did you notice that trend too on the indie shows where a manager would have 4 matches and they'd have a bump in every one? What's the point of doing that? Like, that would always just be like, because he shouldn't be able to go back out there after he got bumped the first time.
You
Like,
can't.
It's just,
It's once. You know, people don't understand that. Is once you see it, it's. If you repeatedly see it, then it just becomes.
You don't even want to see it.
Ah, boring.
It's.
And they're done that.
Yeah. Don't touch the manager. Don't. And I would love.
They want to see to get the manager touched, but not until the time is right. It's got to be a built up.
A big blow up.
Remember the heat that Albano and well, they bumped Albano all over the place, but Blassie,
That's
Wizard.
because he could work those.
Yeah, because yeah, exactly.
here we got the cover of the ECW magazine. Just Incredible on the cover. I believe all 5 gentlemen are going to be signing this.
Rocco's.
So we'll just pass it around. I'll start down on the end with Mr. Scorpio.
God, he was so awesome.
Too late.
80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Don't forget, we're here till 10 p.m. with the ECW Legends. Then from 10 p.m. on for the next 24 hours, 25% off all future signings coming up. Ian, you coming in with that banner?
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
I'll be right back.
Abandoning Coast.
Oh, great guy.
Here we have the banner from Danger Zone. We'll start at the far end of the table. Walk around.
Yeah, there we go. Definitely.
Great. All right. Just outside of town. Great guy. And he's great talent.
Great mind.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. He's big.
But nice guy. But nice.
Number 2.
I didn't know how this was going to go. This is actually
And great.
I've done it in person stuff, but this was the first. I was supposed to do one
There's so much
a couple months ago, and I didn't, and I had to cancel it.
In
because we were
person's all
sweet.
right, you know, but this is so much more cooler because I got to deal with nobody.
But this is awesome too. Like you're getting, so it's
I've
like
never done this. the
like
round
that. But that's what I'm
table
saying.
thing.
Is this like so we're signing, we're talking, we're telling stories. You know,
Back when wrestling was still wrestling.
yeah.
Let's go right here. I'll be out of your way in a minute.
No, you're not in my way. Filled in perfectly. There you go.
All right.
I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to leave. Like even on the weekends, I don't leave my house.
I do always want to leave my house. I never want to be home on the weekends. It's just a habit.
I
You
just
know,
miss going to
weekend
a
come,
concert.
just going someplace been gone.
I miss seeing a concert so bad.
Thank you to 80s Wrestling Con catering manager Ian Levy.
I'm just some girls, this some ass. It's single, free to mingle. What the hoes at?
I told my friend the other day, and I hate going to Yankee Stadium because you got to sit $20 beers, all that shit. I said, bro, I'm ready to go to a game, and I'm ready to drop $100 on 2 beers. I don't care.
It's still the most convenient to go to Philly.
Yeah, Philly's 1,000 times better stadium. 1,000 times.
Even the old Vet, for as old as it was, you could be in and out of there within an hour.
I played in the Vet.
I read about your baseball
Carpenter
background,
Cup. In '86, we won it. And then Joe Biden was supposed to show up in the parade. And he didn't.
but he forgot.
No, he didn't. He sent him with extras. What?
Beautiful. Thank
Joe
you.
Biden was the senator?
Did you know he's there?
He was a senator or something. He was supposed to be. So we won. It was 1986, and they had the Philadelphia Phillies had a high school tournament from teams from Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. And I was on North Delaware, and we won it. We won the first one, and Biden was. I can't remember what he was in the state. Anyway, they had a parade for us or something, and he was supposed to be there, and he wasn't. And he sent a representative. And I'll never forget the coach stood around
Kind
going,
of like what's going on now.
why didn't he go? Why didn't he show up? Like going like that. I was just like, well, that's kind of bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're supposed to talk politics.
Nah, whatever. Hey, we're just free forming.
I forgave him.
Toby Delaire, 80s wrestling was the best. Missed those days, never really anything like it. Well, now tonight it's not just 80s wrestling. Tonight it's all about ECW and the legends that are at this round table right now. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. They're here with us till 10 o'clock. Don't forget we have that live auction. I believe the online store shuts down in 15 minutes, Tommy. Are we keeping it till 9:30? 15 minutes. 15 minutes, and then we're going to go into our live auction. Don't forget, if you have any memorabilia at your house, whether it be action figures, trading cards, magazines, find out at 80swrestlingcon.com how you can ship that out for any of the talent that we have coming up. And you can get your live shout out and your stuff signed. Also, don't forget the Wrestling Collector Superstore in New Jersey. Follow them on Instagram. There's going to be a bunch of in-person signings as well. Did you guys ever think when you were there in ECW at the time that all these years later, I mean, we're talking 25 years now, that forget about just the virtual signings because of the pandemic, that you guys would be able to go to these conventions and have lines wrapped down people?
You gotta figure, when we was in ECW, we wasn't thinking about what the future was gonna be like, what is next. You know, we was thinking about, fuck, how am I gonna get home and explain to the wife that I spent all the money over here this weekend and I ain't got shit to show for it. You know?
You want to handle that?
That's why I would get the draw.
Debbie Beaumont.
Send it home first.
Oh, you always got the draw, because you know what was happening with that check.
Well, it was nice in the beginning. They would just give you the draw, and then you go home with the cash with a check, and Paul's writing them out. Well, then at the end, when you would get a check, they'd write minus draw, and they write how much the draw was.
Right.
Shit!
Yeah.
That was my play money. You're fucking me up.
Right now, the WWE Encyclopedia, owned by Dana Smith, is being passed around.
Dana.
Right here, please.
Thorsten Fritz to Mikey. Did you enjoy teaming with Tajiri? They both had quite a character change with the Sinister Minister.
Loved it. So much fun.
He seems like he'd be a real entertaining guy behind the scenes, too.
Oh, it was so easy too. It was one of those things we just clicked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you guys did.
Even though he didn't speak English.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
But you know, it just worked out real well. And just the team turned out great too because I started doing double team stuff, which was kind of new-ish at the time. At least the double teams. But it worked out because I would take the heat and sell. He would make the comeback, kick people in the face, and then we just go to the finish wherever we were.
Yeah.
So it was a very easy formula to do.
And it was such a change from, like you said, the guy you see in that promo pic right there. That was the whole devil transformation, right, with Sinister Minister?
Yeah. I was supposed to be a heel when I came back from WCW. And he had me as a heel with Louis dangerously for a while. And Paul goes, "You're fucking this up." I go, "Why?" He goes, "You cannot be a heel. It just does not work."
No.
So then they started putting me with the devil and Raven a little bit. And even that didn't work. So he said, "Well, fuck it, whatever." And then we just did the whole thing with the devil and Tajiri, and it was awesome.
Bubba Call says, Ryan, can you tell Shane, the guy that showed him the Dynamic Dudes autograph from 30 years ago in Joppa, Maryland, said hey. So there you go.
What's up, brother?
That's where, isn't that where Whipwreck ran? Joppa, Maryland.
Chance
I don't know.
Stevens.
Whipwreck, yeah.
Chance Stevens for Mr.
Remember
Scorpio
doing
down
this
there.
You know, we were down there with at Corporal Punishments.
Yeah.
Was that Maryland Championship
Football
Wrestling?
dance.
Yeah, but he also
Yeah.
ran Joppa,
And
Maryland.
a guy came up. I do remember that dude. It was brought up a old autograph from 1887. Dynamic Dudes.
Maryland Championship Wrestling, I remember in the late 90s to like early mid-2000s.
Yeah.
There were a lot of great workers
Yeah.
over there. Earl Pearl, Rich Myers, the Holy Rollers.
Ramblin' Rich.
Yeah.
That was a fun place to work.
It was one.
The crowd was super into it.
Look forward to going down there.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
And there weren't too many indies you look forward to going to.
No, it was very well done. The way
Usually it was,
How much? Oh, okay, yeah.
oh, how about a no-show? It was so bad.
We also have some kids hottie.
Royce Prophet? Royce Prophet?
Just give it
So
away.
crazy.
He still owes me money, by the way. Every time, you want to hear a funny, you want to hear a effed up story?
Just to give everybody a little background, this is about an indie manager from New Jersey.
So, at the time I was with Dawn, and Dawn had a soft spot for Casada. So she, I never got along with him. So she talks me into bringing him into the house to live with us, and so he's living with us. So I collect funds from several members of the ECW locker room to get anabolic steroids from a guy that I was getting them from.
Allegedly.
It's all good nowadays.
Gas.
The gas.
There you go.
Sorry, the giz ass.
Gas.
So
Cocaine.
I set
What, you
up
got some?
I just need to get that out.
Casati to take a train to go pick him up, and I give him this money.
Casati. Said, hey, bro.
Well, Casati gets on the train and keeps going. It doesn't return. And now, not only am I out this money, but now I got to go to several prominent members of the ECW locker room who are up here and I'm down here, and I have to explain to them that unfortunately, I don't have your money and I don't have your giz ass either. So now I got to figure out how I'm going to pay for this.
We is up the fee is up.
Yeah, yeah.
See, it was explained to me that he was the money mark that would take all the guys out and buy dinner and
Oh,
stuff.
he was, but then
it was
he-
other people's
he-
money, okay.
And then I
got his money back?
I got now he gave, to his credit, he did give me some when we were in Las Vegas for TNA. He came by the show and he did pay back a little bit of money, but
Probably looking for a spot.
for the most part, but I will never. And I thought to myself, you know what? Shame on you, for fucking trusting him, you moron. You should have stuck to your guns.
So what was your reaction when you told these people?
I was out of camera, and I, like, it was early in my ECW days, so I was like, I'm still when I'm, when you're doing this.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Shane, what would you like to do? It's that part in your career, so now I got to go explain them, and they're like, what do you mean? Well, what the fuck's going to happen? And I was like, I'm going to get it. I'll get it back, don't worry. And then I'm like, fuck it, I got to pay for it out of my own pocket.
Being passed around the table right now, we got another WWE encyclopedia. This one's the property of Robert Williams in Kentucky. So there you go, Robert. It's being passed around right now. as
Full
we speak.
disclosure, the franchise did not buy.
No, he did not. No one at the stable did. No one at the stable did.
I can only imagine.
I was shitting my pants.
Not bad.
I've been on the receiving end of some of the lashings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was not good.
Jeremy Gibson, Tommy Fierro, 80s Wrestling Con Crew, thank you for everything. My wife and I are planning a trip to come see your store. There you go. Wrestling Collector. Follow it on Instagram. Wrestling Collector Superstore. 80swrestlingcon.com. We're here for, the store's open another 7 minutes. We're going to be here with these guys till 10 o'clock. And then at 10 o'clock for the next 24 hours, 25% off all orders for every upcoming signing.
Tommy, you know who's hilarious on Facebook? Harley Lewis.
Harley Lewis is on Facebook.
He's hilarious.
Winning
Yeah.
together, that was my
He's
favorite
fucking
combo.
hilarious. Have you seen his stuff? Oh, he's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
I think he deleted me a while back because he got offended by a joke I put, but then he re-added me. But yeah, he
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you what, on the Jersey Indies, like when I was managing ring announcing, that guy was believable as anything. Like you really thought this guy's gonna rip my head off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him and Derek Domino, the two of them together.
There was no Rick Ratchet.
Rick Ratchet.
Me and Ace were married to him and Derek Domino forever.
Yeah.
Great matches, always fun.
Yeah.
It was a great town.
Yeah, no, he was, and then when Donnie B was running the Phoenix Championship Wrestling shows, it was Jerry the Wall, God rest his soul, and it was him and Harley against each other. They had the first ever tables, ladders, chairs, chains, and doors match, and that was pretty wild. But yeah, Harley, man, you would went in there and you're like, that guy would beat the shit out of anybody in this building.
Believable. Yep.
Yep.
And he could.
I believe he's down in Florida now, I think.
Is he?
I think that's what I had heard last. Yeah, there's a lot of those guys on Facebook, and
Thought you fell asleep.
it's always fun to hear their musings on what's going on now in wrestling.
Oh, it's past my bedtime, dude. I gotta get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, and I'm looking at my watch.
Where you going? Oh, going to work
Yeah, sanitation.
early in the morning,
We start at
5:30.
5.
Well, you know the way to do this is just stay up all night. Just go right into it.
That used to
How
work.
far?
Yeah, it's used to
Not
work.
anymore.
40
No.
minutes. 40-minute drive. But I'm usually like,
What we got?
I'm like, it's not usually right now. Everyone's in bed, and I'm
Ready to close it down.
Yeah.
Locking up.
Where are you, Sanitation, New York?
Woodbridge,
Oh,
New
okay.
Jersey. Great, I love it. It's awesome.
I wish I could sleep. I'm still just saying like 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah, same here. I'm just a night owl. Then you start watching something on Netflix or whatever, and you're up.
Friday nights, my wife yells at me all the time. You fell asleep. It was a great movie. Well, I saw 10 minutes of it.
Another encyclopedia coming around. Carter Cole from Richmond, Virginia. Carter
You
Cole.
know, throughout the week, we'll go to bed by 9 o'clock, 9 or 10.
I was a 9er last
And
night.
Friday and Saturday, I'll start passing on about that and want to go to bed. And my wife's going, it's Friday and Saturday. Well, now you want to go to bed early?
In 5 minutes, hear the ECW legends talk about Metamucil intake.
Oh no, that's one place the franchise has no choice.
Yeah, no. Nope. I get my greens. I stay regular.
2 cups of coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
And there you go.
I mean, you better be careful. Pam watches those true
I can't wait for
Oh, I
WrestleZone
know.
tomorrow. ECW legends talk about being regular. that's what happens now.
That's
with
what
these signings.
happens when
People
you
take
eat
these
raisin
5-second
bread. You
clips.
know,
Yeah,
raisin bread, got a
absolutely.
little bread, a little fiber in you, you know.
Well, I mean, look, like, there's no alcoholic beverages on the table.
No, we're playing it safe.
That's because they didn't buy none.
There's no drugs. It's clean as can be.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their phones, you know.
Well, there should be like a tray, some papers, maybe a couple cold ones to wash down, you know, get a little dry and shit, you know. And
If you're looking for that, watch Two Cold Scorpio's You Shoot, which is available on YouTube.
you shoot smoke out with too cold.
My wife's like, are you gonna be drinking up there? I was like, I don't know. Someone may bring beer there. She's like, well, you gotta drive home. Be careful. I was like, oh.
I think the only signing, and I wasn't hosting them yet, that had beer was Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine. Everybody else has been.
Yeah, well, you ain't had the Sandman yet, huh?
I don't know. Talk to Tommy. Maybe the Sandman will be coming.
on that one.
I ain't trying to get a case of beer and have to pick you up and hear the stories, huh?
Kyle
36
James,
pack.
We need cigars and cards for this. Thorsten Fritz asked this question, and this was a guy who, I really enjoyed watching. He wants to know if any of you have any Louis Spicoli memories.
Oh, man.
He called me like this one.
First drop pie.
No, that was mini drop.
I remember an
bites.
I Quit match between him and Tommy Dreamer, where Dreamer actually, the finish was a doorstop to Spicoli's eye. And just he screamed into the microphone, "Quit, you mother effer!" And it was one of like the most violent things I had ever seen live at the time.
Louis was a
I
great
know.
guy. He was
I think I
super
wrestled him first time in Minneapolis when Dennis Carluzzo and Ed Sharkey did a couple combined shows.
Okay.
there. And then I actually wrestled him when I think it was pretty much a squash match when he was Rad Radford.
Okay.
WWF.
I just remember working him in that on my way out when I had those 3 matches, and he was my final match. And then after I had beat the first JT and whoever else it was, they could see Louis that I was going to beat Louis. I was like, come on, Louis, just tell the people that you're going with me and Nancy, that you're leaving ECW, you're going up here with us up here, just lay down so I can cover you. Just lay down, just cover me so we can go 1 to 3, so we can hurry up and get out of here and shit.
Wow.
Yeah, and ended up tearing the house down. Man.
Because right before he had passed, or while he passed, I should say, he was in WCW, and they were building up with something, him and Larry Zbyszko, I remember. And I remember Larry saying he'd gotten some heat because when Louis Spicoli died, WCW opened with a graphic, and Zbyszko stayed in character and was like, yeah, I'm not glad he's dead, but I don't really care too much. But he was being Larry Zbyszko, the old school guy, and I remember, the sheets went nuts with that.
Not the scoop sheets. The dirt sheets.
The thing that surprised me when I met Louis was WWF, if I'm not mistaken, and we got into the ring before and I started chain wrestling around. I just thought he was like a high spot type of guy or something, and he was damn proficient at chaining. I mean, he could go, but he also could do the backward style, right, from being in Mexico, and he would do that. He'd be chaining with him, and he'd go over to your right arm and do some stuff. What the hell's he doing? And working around you. He was much more proficient in the ring than his characters would let on.
What was his gimmick in Mexico?
Madonna's boyfriend. Yeah. I
He was
remember
on
seeing
that.
tapes
He
of
was
it.
on
Yeah.
that pay-per-view was unbelievable.
that
I
when
remember
Earl's
watching Art Barr and Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing
Yes,
that popped
amazing.
in my mind, this was, what was that, like 93, 94, I want to say. So I'm back in college or whatever, and I'm watching, and the first thing I thought of was, wow, they'd be great for the Public Enemy.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, like, that would have been a hot feud. And I had heard that that's what the plan was before, you know, Art had passed away.
Choose the silver.
Yeah, that was.
Anywhere, I guess.
Yeah, that was leading, and that was the time, like when Art passed, was like the leading into like that, just that horrific time,
slowly.
you know, shadow of death over wrestling, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember like, you know, a few of the guys way back in '84. I remember David Von Erich dying, and then you know, a couple guys in between. But then, like in that time, like when Art died, it all of a sudden was like boom, boom,
Yes.
boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it was just like like an onslaught.
Yep.
Anywhere, I guess.
Yeah, and that card again, late 90s through the mid 2000s. It was like, you know, AOL, WWE had their own AOL section, and it would be like, you know, open it, and it'd be like, so-and-so died, and so-and-so died, and it was constant.
Right.
Just one after the other.
God, things just got very like.
I was just thinking this whenever.
That's gonna be all in bed by the time. Right? Any other time.
This is extreme!
So I hadn't spoken to you in how long? I mean, years, right?
I'm trying to think the last time.
Well, and then you reached out to me when Tracy died.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is when you get a call or text from someone you haven't seen in a while in the wrestling business, what's the first thing we all think of? Who died?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, on a brighter note, how entertaining was Tracy Smothers though,
Oh.
in that FBI gimmick with the forget? I mean, just
We
see
all-
this guy.
I can't tell you how many matches
Tracy
I'm in the
Smothers
ring
was
and
a
I'm
sheep.
channeling my inner Tracy and I'm doing the Tracy dance. And I can't tell you how many times I've done this. Just even as I see
Talking
someone,
to somebody on the street.
see Guido at a convention, I'm doing this to Guido.
But it was just so
it's
funny to see Tracy doing
yeah.
it, just because it just looked so out of place. But it made sense in that storyline. for the
It's so
FBI.
out
It
of
was so
place for
entertaining.
anybody else, but for some reason, out of place or not, Tracy made it work.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, I mean, he was one of them guys that knew how to blow up the young boys and go in there and work them 10, 20 minutes. And Tracy come like, yeah, okay, having a beer and where we going next? You know what I mean? He was ready, you know.
I think I worked him on an indie in Cleveland, and I was really tired that night. And I said, Tracy, is it okay if we just go about 12? He says, yeah, no problem. It ended up being like 25. Yeah. Mind you, the first 5 minutes was him on the mic turning himself face and heel 4 times.
All right, guys, the store is closed, 80swrestlingcon.com. We're going to move on to the auction, I believe, in a few minutes. I
As soon as
think.
I'm done with this.
Oh, okay, as soon as we're done with that.
yeah, there you go.
In the meantime, though, get those orders in for all the upcoming signings. If you wait till 10 o'clock, it's going to be 25% off for the next 24 hours.
Tracy was another one of those, like Candido, Tracy.
But Tracy, he had an old school knowledge though.
Yes,
you know
yes,
what I
yes.
mean? That was the.
What amazed me about Chris Candido, though, is he was always a wrestling fan, even while he was a star himself. Like, you see him and he'd be like, oh, I was just watching Chi-Town Rumble last night. And you're like, oh, wow. Like, he never... And that was cool to see because, you were like, wow, it's good to see a guy who's at this level who's still passionate about it.
I mean.
But back then, it wasn't as open.
Yeah, but I think we all
Had a little bit more love for the sports back then, and we was watching a little bit of everything. Because back then, what could I see that's new that I could add to my character or to my flavor, to boost myself up higher up the ladder, whatever, to entertain people. What I got to do this week,
I got the best Tracy Smothers story that I just heard the punchline on last week from Tommy Dreamer. So you guys remember it was an armory in New Jersey, New York. It was a brand new armory. And like it'd been built like within the last year.
Woodbridge.
Was that Woodbridge?
Right next to the Club of Woodbridge.
And I was on last, right? So I'm in the back getting ready, and I hear something's going on in the hall, and I hear somebody comes to the dressing room and said, there's a fight. So I hear noise outside the window. So I call up on the bench and I look out, and it looks like the land of the zombies, right? Everybody, like fans are walking around holding their heads, and people are bleeding and stuff. And in the middle of the yard, I see Tracy with nobody around going, he's just airboxing, right? I'm like, what? So now Tommy Dreamer told me that the wrap up to that story is there was a cop that came because Tommy's trying to get all the boys back into the building, right? Cop comes up with a dog, and the dog's yelling, barking, and screaming. And Tommy's trying to talk to the cop. The cop's going, "Get back in the building," right? And he hears a voice in his ear going, "You get the cop, I got the dog." It's Tracy. You get the cop, I got the dog. And then that's so perfectly Tracy, right? You get the cop, I got the dog.
Well, he did wrestle a bear quite a few times.
I believe it probably beat him too.
I remember.
Is he in all your top 5 as like legit toughest guys in the business?
He would
right?
be up there one of mine.
yeah.
He's got country tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get a fight with him, boy. You know you in a fight, boy, to the end and shit.
And he was so nice, you wouldn't know.
And be whooping your ass and stuff. Yeah, you know you shouldn't have did that. Tracy was probably bite the ear out there. He hit your ear back. You know, sorry, I didn't mean to bite the ear, but you pissed me off. You know?
Last minute order from Sly Fitsenko. Sly,
we got to.
Who was in at the time? The Japanese Wayne Kanamura, was that his name? Was it Wayne Kanamura or something like that?
Yeah.
So he was in, and he had knocked out what's his name? Him and Awesome had that series of matches that was Masato Tanaka. He had knocked out his tooth.
Oh, that's right.
And so then the next night it was Tracy's last night, and he swore that the office was sending Nakamura to beat up Tracy in his last night. And Tracy, I'll never forget, he walks up to me and goes, "You on my side, man?" I was like, "What do you mean, side? What side? Are you on my side?
You my side, baby?
Are you with me? Come on, man. Come on,
give you his
on my
watch?
side. I need you out there." He's like, "Whoa, what are you talking about, man? This guy, he's going to do it, man. There's going to be a fight. I know, it's going to be sides. And whose side are you on? You on my side, man?" I knew. I was like, "Whoa,
That's right.
I'm too young.
Well, he went after JBL after the meeting thing on the WWE ECW reunion. I wouldn't have played with Tracy, but all the fans are loving this so far on the 80s Wrestling Contract. They're ready for round 2. They said, can there be another Legends Roundtable 2? I think there might have to be, but right now we're going to start the auction. So we're going to start off right now. Here's how it's going to work. You have 3 minutes for each item. You're going to put your bid in the chat. So this is the first auction item on the block. It's the ECW Shane Douglas action figure. It'll be signed by Mr. Douglas. We're going to start it at $75.
Let me see.
There you go, $75.
And just
$75. What's up, y'all?
And just to let you know, my boys both have one of those, and they used to always play with them with their friends out on the front porch. And very curious that Dad's ECW figure always did the job. Like a little Freudian thing going on there.
I never did a job. Why's he doing a job now?
My daughter Erica, the oldest
75.
one,
Wait for that first bid.
when we first got those, I brought it home and I gave her one. Right away, she ran into the bedroom as fast as she could. And she came out pointing at me and laughing. She had put a Barbie evening gown on my action figure. I went, "Thanks a lot, kid."
Daddy,
Just pointing and laughing at me.
We're looking for that first bid, $75 after that.
Your children come to you and say, "I want to be a pro wrestler." What do you say?
Nope.
Nope. Not today.
Is that the initial reaction of every guy? But then when they keep showing the passion, you kind of go, all right.
Nope.
Nope.
Your daughter. How many of us have daughters?
I got 2.
Oh, wow.
2 boys.
75. Wait for that first bid.
Your daughter
Five
comes to
boys,
you and
one girl.
says, "I want to be a pro wrestler."
No.
I don't know why. I have this bad feeling. I tell my wife this all the time, that my daughter, like I watch some of the things she does, and she's obnoxious and stuff. She is. And I'm just, like I tell her all the time, she's going to come to me one day and say, "Dad, I want to be a pro wrestler." And
Mine both hate it. Well, I shouldn't say hate, but they don't like it.
Mine's,
Because my first one,
75.
I missed
Wait for
seeing
that
her grow
opening
up
bid,
after life because I was on the road all the time. And then the
$75,
little one, she saw what it did to me. I'd come home and she'd want to play, and I'm saying, "I'm sorry, I can't." She'd get beat up.
Just the
and it just
That's my
crushed her.
boy.
She hated seeing her.
My fear is she comes home saying, "Daddy, I'm dating her."
Emil Menard, $75. Who can beat it?
75.
My boys are both
How old?
I said,
They're
my
20,
my
just
daughter-
turned
my
20
daughter,
on the 6th
she,
and
never
15
ever
on
paid
December
dues
6th.
for it, didn't
And
wanna
they
be a
both
wrestler,
love
never
growing up.
thought about
If
it.
you guys remember, they used to come to the shows and stuff.
40 seconds, get those bids
My
in.
oldest is
75 so
coming
far
to
the first
shows.
bid.
Dusty gave his friend called him the block. You're going to give you your first name, you're going to be the block. And they loved it. Played with those figures, had every video game and everything. But both of them started wrestling the same year, amateur wrestling.
Kyle James,
I
the
can't
belt is
say it was
coming up
amateur
soon.
wrestling,
Stay
but
tuned
at
for
the
that.
exact
We got
same
about 20
time,
seconds left on the
they
Shane
both
Douglas
stopped
action.
watching, playing with the action figures, the video games, everything.
Well, how much you got for it?
$75 so far, too. Cole.
35?
We got about 15 seconds left. Can we see 80?
There's the 80. You make 80. Get it, baby. All right. That's 75, 75, 75. Asking for 80.
All right. And
They'll
it
maybe watch
is
our match and then they'll be on.
sold to Emil Menard,
Go
still the
yet.
reigning
It is
auction
funny.
champion.
Whoa,
Shane
whoa,
Douglas
whoa.
action figure, $75.
Video
There you
games,
go.
but all
All right,
the
up
other
next, we're
big
going to do
cost.
the ECW
They could
magazine.
care less.
So we
My
got
kids.
one
Has
day.
Taz on the cover, I believe, but all these gentlemen are going to sign it.
I go to a,
Yeah.
I go to a parent-teacher conference night, and the teacher explained. She's like,
$100, 3 minutes. I'm sorry,
no.
$100.
"Oh,
It's gonna be signed by everybody. Should get that first bid in, $100. Continue.
Mr. Kenny, we learned something about you." I was like, "Oh, well, what's that?" She goes, "Oh, your daughter." I was showing something on YouTube for history, and your daughter took over and showed the class one of your matches. I'm like, really?
Took over the class.
So I go home and I'm like, "Quinn, what happened to today? Nothing." I get hurt. So then I'm coaching her basketball team, and the next night
$100
Like
off
it was
that
all
opening
the
bid.
girls on the team
$100.
But so it was practices. It was like 4th and 5th grade, then 6th and 7th. So we're leaving, and as we're leaving, here come the boys. Here come the boys, and then I hear this. "Hey, what's up, Simon Diamond?" And I was like, "I'm Mr. Kenny. I'm not Simon Diamond." And then I turned to my daughter. I go, "You see, this is why you don't do that, because it's only going to make your life harder. Don't make your life harder."
Do you think
Your
if she
daddy's
had
a
never done
wrestler.
that, though,
Your
it
daddy's
still
a
would have
wrestler.
I don't think,
That's
even
right,
if she
my dad's
hadn't
a
done that,
wrestler.
though, I think
Close line.
eventually it would have been found. I mean, the network and all that other stuff.
I don't know. I don't want her to have to deal. Like, we want the best for our kids.
Absolutely.
And I don't want her. Number one, I don't want her
Riding up against
anywhere
the hotel.
near it. God forbid. And number two, I just don't want her to do that.
As long as you're
Looking
still
for that
allowed
first
within
bid of
100 yards
$100.
the school.
Can we see it?
Until then,
First bid of $100. Who's going to take it? Signed by
That was a
everybody at the
premier
table.
issue.
I believe this was the premier issue. Does it have the month and date on it? It should. But let's see on the back. No, but it's got Francine centerfold.
Francine Centerfold. And you gonna get it signed by all of us? Gonna sign it?
You're all going to sign it, and we're hopefully going to give
Oh,
it
that's-
away to somebody who wins the auction. But if not, it will be
Oh,
available.
that's
for
pretty
wrestling
cheap. That's
collectors.
like
Taz.
$25 a wrestler. That's like $100. That's like
Who do
cheap.
you ever beat?
That's a good deal.
All of us.
Yeah, right.
My daughter tried telling her friends at school that I was a wrestler, and they pulled me up online, old pictures, and I look at, that's not me.
That man, your daddy got no hair. That guy had hair.
That guy has a full head of hair.
All right,
He's
30
handsome.
seconds
And
left.
he's about
30
200 pounds
seconds.
lighter.
My daughter won't say anything at school because when I did the guest trainer at the Performance Center, they gave me some shirts and shorts. And the shorts are it's that nice fabric, like the Under Armour
Dry fit
fabric.
stuff, yeah.
So I would wear them in the summer to go out and do yard work and stuff. And one day I put them on and I'm getting ready to go outside and my daughter Annabelle goes, "Dad," I go, "What?" She goes, "The shorts really? What, are you just wearing them so you can show the neighbors you used to be a wrestler?" Oh, wow. I'm like, "Thanks."
All right, 10 seconds left. 10 seconds left. Looking for that opening bid. All right, looks like this is going to go to the Wrestling Collector Superstore. We'll just pass it around.
Man, you
Ask
guys
them to sign it.
missed out, man. You need like all the wrestlers at $25 a piece. That's like cheap. Like, come on now. What's up?
Letters.
Only asking 100.
The letters.
Damn.
Remember
I'm
the
gonna sign it
I'll go
though.
and try to like price it.
Pass it around.
It's right here.
Hard sell.
early in
All right,
the
so guys, behind us we have just one second, guys. We have the ECW
I was
letters
teaching
that are going to be signed by everybody. You almost poked my eye out. Let's see.
And the kids are all
They're ECW letters that you're all going to sign. And I believe we're going to auction these off. And,
ECW. Do we get all 3 letters or we just get one letter?
I'm not going to hold
gets
this the entire time. So these letters, the E, the C, the W, for all of them signed by everybody, $100.
What's that? Each one or one? All 3. That's a hell of a deal. 3 signatures, 3 letters.
150 grand a year will be worth it.
Come on now, make that bid, y'all. Talk to me.
$100 looking
Smoke
for
time. Come on, talk to me.
Go.
Let's see if we can get anybody to place that opening bid, those ECW letters. I think they get the point. Yeah, it's not going to
That's ECW.
ECW, damn it. You know what it is.
We got a C, we got a W.
I can tell you 50
Yeah, I'm going to sign that W anyways, damn it.
I'm walking down the hall.
We're signing every letter.
Travel that period, and I walked by that noise.
I know,
3
it's like
minutes.
rape going across concrete.
Well, now we're down to 2 minutes. Looking for that opening bid.
So they're all kids are all
That in, or you want-
2 kids.
Yeah, let me mess up the rotation over there. What's all that robot? Coming in all stiff. Coming in all stiff, trying to flip up the rotation. What's up?
Get out of the way! I turn around and these 2 guys are full on blasting each other, right? I walk into Jerry's room, set my books down, never put my
Nobody's on ECW, so they're just
He
right.
gets the first and he bars himself on the floor. I look at the other kid, put my hand on his chest, pushed him into the wall, and I said, "We're done." Go into the office. The next day I walk in.
Got them original ECW letters. Be good to hang up on your wall.
The kid I put against
All
the
time.
The principal came against his
Shoot, good to go.
He goes,
All right, we got about a minute left for the ECW letters. They're being passed around the table, signed by everybody now.
he's like, so I looked at him, I said,
I'd like to thank Ian Levy for stopping at AC Moore and picking this up before we started.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
He goes, yeah. I
She
said,
been working her ass off, y'all. She give it up to her. Thank you, baby girl.
I said, the middle time.
Emil Menard being silent in the auction after winning the first item. We need Emil Menard to step it back
Save it
up.
for the belt.
How dare you walk out?
What you saving for, man? The next auction?
First of all, the guy jumps up and accuses me of beating him.
Cause you know we got something good coming up still, don't you?
Yeah.
I think Too Cold's going to take over the auction from now on.
Yeah.
I like.
We gonna put some music on. We gonna dance. Ah,
There you go.
Sell some products. Hey, yeah. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all.
Pimpin' ain't
It's 420. And pimping ain't easy.
All right, Emil Menard just came in with $100 for the ECW letters. You guys have about 15 seconds to outbid Emil. Can we see 105?
Mill, you the man. You the man. You the man. You the man.
Scorpio's got his second ring.
Shit, coffee that kicked in.
And I'm like,
Shit, I'm ready to smoke and go to bed now. I'm ready to smoke, go to bed, get ready for the next
leg
night.
in the bed.
All right, sold to Emil Menard, the ECW letters. I guess let's do the boots now.
We're coming through. You the man. You the man.
All right. So these are, all right, so we're going to start at $200.
With the black indie worker boots.
Oh, that's not good.
Simon Diamond said that, not me. So $200.
Oh, you damn sure ain't
That's
kicking
not
me.
good.
Oh, you damn sure
What color are
ain't
your-
kicking me.
what color are
in
your
the
boots? I don't want any of that.
$200, the opening bid is what we're looking for.
Okay, good. That'll be good.
Going to be signed by everybody. Can we see $200?
You will not put that boot upside my head.
Emil, $200.
Look at the bottom of that boot. Have you stopped yet?
Like, come on, man. You get taller, right? Let's get an inch.
Where my crate sold at on that bad boy?
And I never understood that.
Easy access, man.
means you're lazy.
350 pounds will make you put a zipper in it real quick. Zip.
Let's just be thankful the guys on the indies are wearing boots. So before we
Well, not all guys are
critique
wearing
the
boots
boots
yet.
too much.
Does it come with a matching kick pad?
So we're looking for $205. Emil Menard came in with $200.
Now, if they had gold fringe, I'd give you a couple hundred, but
Right.
I remember one time I was on an indie with Scotty, with Raven, and we were watching the matches, and everyone coming out of the back. cut off jeans.
Yep.
And I said, "This is your fucking fault.
Yeah.
This is all your fault."
You're the
Started that
He's the wrestling version of Nirvana, right?
Remember those Frank Goodman battle royals?
shit. Oh my god.
Ticket seller battle royals. Greatest.
Well, Simon, just be
I-
glad that the kilt
Or
didn't take off.
if you sell enough tickets, I'll let you come to the back into the
Be
locker
glad
room.
that the kilt
VIP.
didn't take off. And he
You
wore
can see
kilt.
the wrestlers talking about their match and changing clothes.
So Goodman always used to have those 5 hours, 6
Oh,
hours.
Yeah.
And he
Before
always had-
WrestleMania made it cool.
All right, motherfucker.
He always had the
Give me
ECW
a
match
minute.
at the end, and he always wanted all the ECW guys to do, well, Raven always recruited all the other guys to do run-ins.
The Honey Bunny Show.
Or Frank Goodman would. So I would make sure that every time I wrestled, and Scotty was like, I got a good spot for you. Well, yeah, I had a good spot too in my match where I pulled my hamstring, and now I gotta go, bro, 'cause I gotta get some ice on this fucking thing.
We're looking
And I
at
was
205. Can we see?
Down the highway. I wasn't hanging around for that.
By that time, half the crowd was gone.
1 o'clock. Like, I'd be like, okay, it's 10:15. Do I want to hang out and listen to this bullshit, or do I want to get home? Well, Scotty, yeah, man, I don't think I'm going to make enough for you. Okay, good luck. And look out and down. There I'm going. Oh, man, I'm not hanging around for that.
One time I was in a tag match right before the main event, and he goes, "Mikey, can you do 20 minutes?" I'm like, "It's 11:45. Like, I'm going in and out." It's like, "I need you to put in 20." I said, "All right." So we go out there, we do 20 minutes.
Excuse me. Sold to Emil Menard, $200. The
Wow.
books continue.
What? You're the man.
So,
You're the man.
so then I was involved with him in the main event, right? I got suckered in. We come back through the curtain, he goes, "Frank, you booked me on Friday. It's now Saturday, so you got to pay me an extra $500.
And he's dead serious.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
And he got the money.
Yeah.
I said, "That's why you want us to go 20 minutes. It'll be 12:05.
That's awesome. All right, now we have an original ECW T-shirt.
Damn.
So this is going to be signed. And it smells like it's original. And here you go. We're going to start the bid at $150. All 5 plus crowbar. So everyone's signing this one. So can we see the opening bid? $150. I know Emil doesn't care if it smells. So here we go. Emil wants the merchandise.
I should have signed it on the sole of the shoe.
I knew he'd come. See, I know. Now I don't even have to prompt them. I just know
How
it's
much
going
did
to
the
be
boot
there.
go for?
Opening
100?
bid.
Did the boot go for 100?
The boot went for 200.
200.
And now the winner of the boot came
How
in
much
with
did the boot
150 for the
cost?
T-shirt.
How
You
much
guys
did
want to
the
just
boot
start
cost
down
these
there?
days?
Over $300, I think.
What's that,
for a
Tommy?
pair of boots. Maybe 4. I'm not sure boots.
Emil Menard, 150 for the T-shirt.
ECW,
Anyone want to
when
beat it? 'Cause
Super
Emil's
Crazy
doing
went back
cool
to
sweeps.
Mexico,
75. What is
I
75?
asked him, I said, "Can you get me a pair of boots made in Mexico?" He says, "Sure." He said, "What size you wear?" I said, "I don't know." He says, "Try mine." I wear exact same size as him. I said, "How much?" He said, $90. I said, "Get me 2 pair."
Yeah.
And those were the 2 pair I had the rest of my career. I just had to get each one resold once.
$90.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my pair made for like $90, $110, so man. Got soft leather, patent, really nice, man, cheap as fuck. Compared to a K&H at $350, $450.
I thought it was was it Stagecoach?
Stagecoach does
Yeah, they
it.
were.
I got my
$300.
first pair at K&H,
I got-
and
I
they
got-
didn't last very long.
I got a couple pair made over in Japan. It lasted long, but cost you an arm and a leg.
Emil Menard's at 150. Can we see anybody beat that? It was 155.
Stagecoach.
All
Is
these
that the guy in
legends are signing
Texas?
the shirt right now.
Stagecoach?
Yes.
Yeah. But they
We all
didn't
got
last.
boots in there.
No,
He was
my
very
tights, all
he
that
was
stuff.
very selective
Right
who he
around
made the boots
Big
for.
toe in the wind.
Yeah, we had to call him in.
Came out my foot.
Stagecoach. Who was
Oh,
that guy?
Cliff. I was using cheese.
You couldn't even fix
I don't
it.
even
Oh,
know.
right. You
You know,
know
that's
someone
what
there.
was probably the 90s.
I know you were particularly very mad at me for this because I probably haven't had a pair of boots since '95.
Oh my God. Well done.
How that?
Well done.
Did you wear the shoe boots?
I got sucked
Amateur?
into the whole. I got sucked into the whole kick pad thing, and then Crowbar the character was some slob in jeans, so I wore my Guido Reeboks, and then when I went back and I got resucked into the whole kick pad thing, so you only see the bottom of the shoe. Anyway, so it was
Yeah.
Reebok high tops, all black though, so there's no like sole that's like red or white or nothing like that. So it's all black shoe. I haven't had a pair of boots since probably '95.
Well, that was Tajiri too had Reebok sneakers.
Really?
No kick pads. I said, you should wear kick pads.
Yeah. We got 10 seconds for someone to come in at 155 and beat Emil, or else Emil's taking the signed ECW.
Emil taking everything.
He was fine. Jerry was fine with me. He got
Sold to Emil Menard, 150.
Emil.
Emil.
All right, and now finally,
Now all those things are defined right now too. So
Find them?
they
the
if everybody's selling
replica
them on
ECW
eBay,
World
the person
Heavyweight
wants
Title
it.
belt. If I could just have the attention for a minute, because this is a big one.
the Taz version.
The Taz version of the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. It's been signed by Jerry Lynn, Mikey Whipwreck, and Mr. Shane Douglas over here. We're going to start this at $400.
That's got to go over the town.
Let me see that for a second.
$400. There you go.
And they can all kiss my ass.
Oh, man.
We signed this already?
I know, I believe you're going to.
Oh, we're going. I thought you said we signed it.
No, well, I guess.
Replica
All right,
belt.
man.
Visible
Let's
link.
try to make a shirt.
WWE hologram on the back.
Yeah. Let me just write all over that.
So let's see, $400. Who's going to make that opening bid?
What's the difference?
Emil, we're looking at you, buddy.
It's heavy.
All right. They're signing it right now. We need that opening bid.
I ain't
400.
signing it, man, because I want no champion unless you want me to sign it, you know. But
If it doesn't go into the live auction, if we don't sell it tonight, it'll be at the Wrestling Collector Superstore. You can follow them on Instagram.
hey, remember y'all, after 10,
Yes, after 10 o'clock.
the shit's on sale.
25% off all future orders. Man, two
All
calls paying
future.
attention.
And the pictures are falling down.
It's the countdown, right?
It's just like the ECW locker room. Shit just be falling down. Shit just falling down.
All right, Mikey and Jerry. Well, yeah, I want to focus on this for right now. Because waiting to see. I don't want to miss any bids if they come in. So we're looking for the opening bid of $400. If not, goes to the Wrestling Collector
Replica.
Superstore.
It's heavy.
Next Monday, we're back
Feels
with
like the
Cowboys.
real thing. Real leather.
Next Monday, we're back with Cowboy Stan Hansen. Make sure you tune in for that.
That ain't on me. What you doing?
Emil says, can someone else do the opening bid? No, Emil, I think it's going to have to be you. $400. Chris Briggs, what's the next signings? Well, go to 80swrestlingcon.com. We're going to be back here next Monday with Cowboy Stan Hansen, but everything's listed on the website. So go check it out. Emil, we're waiting for you to come in at 400. It's not the Taz version?
No, the other one.
What's the bid right now?
We don't have any yet, but that's okay. Emil said, can someone else do the opening bid, which makes me think he's going to creep in at the last second.
The old eBay gimmick.
Yeah.
Swooping still on them. Swooping still on them.
That
The
price
seller
is right.
was the bidder.
401.
All right, 10 seconds left to get this opening bid. Emil, if you're going to do it, now's the time.
If not, you're going to be getting it next week. When Cowboy here,
For 500.
ain't going to go
Yeah,
up
at
then.
the store, it's going to be 500. All right, it looks like it's going to go to the Wrestling Collector Superstore because time is up. But Emil still has other items. There's a chair right there from Hardcore Homecoming.
So everyone's gonna sign this one.
Oh, damn. Look at that. Wow.
Kyle James
I
says,
know
my
y'all see
wife
that
said
up
no.
close."
She took me to the store for my birthday.
Wait said no.
We can understand that.
Oh my God, Joey Styles.
What's Joey doing now? Anybody know?
Yeah, Tommy just told me last week he got a job. Can you tell me his name? An insurance company, maybe? Working from home.
Good for him.
Yep. I may be wrong on the insurance company.
Rob
but
Williams.
Working from home.
The guy who used to do our thing?
No.
Oh, that's different. Who am I thinking of? I don't know. I mean, you're just telling me this. I don't know. Whatever it says, I'll read it. 80swrestlingcon.com. All the upcoming signings.
Receiving a chair like that, so gingerly.
That's the franchise's bedtime.
I said the last item. Thank you, Vicky. You did great.
Vivacious, vicious Victoria.
Crowbar, this your stomping ground, man? You
After
home?
this, right?
What happened?
This your stomping ground? You live around here?
Yeah, about 15 minutes from here.
Okay.
All right, guys, this has been an awesome 3 hours. It absolutely flew by. The conversation was nonstop. It was perfect. It was a lot of fun. It was even better than I thought it was going to be. 80swrestlingcon.com. Don't forget, we're back next Monday with Cowboy Stan Hansen. Any parting words as we go around the table for the fans that have been tuning in all night?
Hey,
We'll start with Mr.
from
Scorpio.
Two Cold Scorpio. Without you fans, Scorpio wouldn't be shit. The fans who make you, the fan who break you. Appreciate you.
All right, Jerry Lynn.
Hey, I can't even top that. Same thing. And hopefully we'll get to do this again.
Yeah, this was
I'd
a
love
lot
to
of
do it
fun.
again.
Mikey
Thanks for
Whipwreck.
showing up.
I can't top Scorpio either, but yeah, no, this was fun. Good to see everybody again. It's been a while for some of us. So.
Simon Diamond stepped out, I believe. I must have missed that.
Stand out.
So Simon Diamond, I'm sure, shares the same sentiments, but franchise, you want to close us out?
Yeah, for you guys, first of all, it's great to be back with the family every time we're together.
Oh, thank you, Shane.
For the fans out there that allowed all of these snot-nosed morons to have a career in this business, God bless you. We love you all, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I'm Ryan Moore. I'm your host. See you next week. ECW.
ECW!
ECW! ECW!
Good night, guys.